15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
She once fell off a ski lift. He was called in for questioning. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
I think they're still booing in Pittsburgh this morning. Hey, good morning. It is Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, CBS Sports Radio. I mean, in a word, that game last night between the Steelers and the Patriots was stupid. It was a stupid game. It made no sense. Terrible play calling decisions, terrible decisions in general on both sides of the ball. Good morning, Perloff.
I didn't see it that way at all.
Okay.
I came away saying, man, Bailey Zappi can sling it. What if the Patriots had gone there early? They might have had a chance.
They might have 4 wins.
You're right. There are some weird things. Like, why was Bailey Zappi not throwing the ball around the last, 8 weeks? Where was this Patriots offense? The first half offense, where was that? And the Steelers, I just don't understand, how are the Steelers this bad offensively? I understand the play calling, not ideal, but still, even so, maybe you credit the Patriots defense. It just seems like when the fans can call a better game than the offensive coordinator, you have an issue you have to look at.
This would make you long for the days of Matt Canada. And listen, I understand that you are down to your backup quarterback, but let's not pretend like Kenny Pickett was playing amazing anyway.
But I do think they win that game with Kenny Pickett. I mean, it's Kenny Pickett is Joe Montana compared to Mitchell Trubisky.
Trubisky stinks. But see, that's the thing, right? Where you have a team that is like, hang on, there is no way that anyone could have confidence in the Pittsburgh Steelers unless you're just going on reputation. And like, here's the thing about Mike Tomlin. How do you, with a coach like this, who's been entrenched for the last 16 years in the organization, how can you just say, well, it's a quarterback situation, the quarterbacks are terrible, it's not his fault? That's absolute crap. Of course it's his fault. And even if he's not a quote-unquote offensive genius or offensive guru, rather, and he's kind of more of a CEO type and came up on the defensive side, but also coach wide receivers, whatever. He's been on all parts of the football in his NFL career. The fact that Kenny Pickett, when he was healthy, wasn't developed, that they stuck around with the offensive coordinator as long as they did until the owner was forced to fire him. Let's not forget that detail. The fact that, yes, Mitchell Trubisky is bad. Why is Mitchell Trubisky continue to get developed? Why can't he win a bad game for you? Like, all of this to me, why was the play calling so stupid last night? How does that not fall on Mike Tomlin?
Well, because they were 7-3 when their quarterback got hurt. I mean, I think you're underestimating the Pickett injury severely.
7-3, 7-5,
or
7-4. They've lost
7-4. Sorry,
they've lost to 2 teams in 5 days that both came in with 2 wins.
Right, but the fact that Tomlin got them to 7-4 with a starting quarterback and was about to go 8-4 until Pickett got hurt, I think that speaks to there is something there with Tomlin. Like, Tomlin knows his roster and knows he has to be conservative. You add a quarterback to this team, they're a legit Super Bowl contender. So why would you break that up? All you need is a quarterback. That's all that's missing here.
Okay, but this is a head coach who's got a lot of power, right? So why don't you have a quarterback?
Because all right, so you missed a pick. It happens. It happens in NFL teams, and then Kenny Pickett is injury prone. Okay, it happens. You can't fire a coach because your quarterback is injury prone.
Well, I would say reverse this. Where were those decisions to move on from Ben Roethlisberger? Who was involved in that? Why does it...
Father Time was involved in that.
No, why did they move on sooner? Like, I don't know how many cooks were in the kitchen about that decision, but I imagine that Tomlin had to be one of them. And then here's the thing. You got to be on board with the first-round pick when it's Kenny Pickett, don't you? The coach... I don't think the coach was standing up saying, we don't want to take him.
Right, so...
Everyone's complicit. And then the coach hired an offensive coordinator who was a first-time play caller with no meaningful NFL experience whatsoever and decide to pair him with a rookie quarterback taking over for a legend.
Yeah,
Who thinks that's a good idea?
Well, it's worked before. Who knows? I mean, you could judge that as a bad idea. If they kept on winning, we wouldn't be talking about this. I mean, maybe Canada. That's a fireable offense for a guy who's won 1 million NFL games. And by the way, who's on pace to have a high seed in this year's playoffs. It's not like he's not winning games. He still has an even winning record now, right? Aren't they 7
They're 7-6?
Yeah, I just think that all this, yes, they screwed up certain things this year, but it happens. Teams get hurt. You don't just fire your coach. That's why the Steelers are the Steelers, because of continuity. Remember what Tom Brady said? You can't fire him over this. You give a quarterback to that team, and they are all of a sudden very dangerous. There's no way you would give up on all that.
Okay, so where are you finding this quarterback?
Yeah, I think you might be bad enough to lose out this year and draft one.
Man, I'll tell you what, that's a heck of a plan you got there, Perloff. I mean, that's a heck of a plan for a team that you picked to go to the Super Bowl. So either they're going to the Super Bowl or they're going to be so bad they're going to be in play for the number 1 pick. That is wild swing, dude.
Yeah, it's a pretty wild. It is I mean, look, is there a more wild swing than a 7-4 team losing to 2-10 teams at home? Has that ever happened in the history of the NFL? I'm sure there's a metric that shows no.
But think about it. Even when they were 7-5, right? Even they were 7-3. What were we saying about this team?
That was lucky.
Negative point differential, negative yard differential. It always felt flimsy. The record was there, and they were pulling out these wins that were just like miracle rabbits out of a hat. Or like in the case of the Ravens game, the Ravens dropped like 8 passes. They just got lucky, and it felt like luck was on their side. And you know what happens to luck? It runs out.
Well,
even for the vaunted and successful and well-regarded Pittsburgh Steelers, who've got Lombardi trophy after Lombardi trophy. But let's look at what's happening now, right?
But
you
here's the
are
thing.
on a mediocre trail.
Here's the thing. They look, when they fired Canada, things looked like they were getting better. So they had a very good game against Cincinnati. The final score was 16-10, but they got over 400 total yards. Pickett had a really good game. Pickett had a really good first half against the Cardinals before he got hurt. Yeah, he was pretty efficient.
What was the score?
It was 3-3, but they were about to go in. But they blew a couple scoring opportunities, but the offense looked smooth. It was actually moving up and down the field pretty well. And then it all fell apart. I mean, drastically when Trubisky came in. When Pickett got hurt, the defense lost their mojo too. They got depressed. It's all been bad.
Okay, well, that's another thing.
But this happens. Quarterback injuries happen to teams. It happens to even the best teams. If a quarterback gets hurt, your chances of winning go down drastically.
Okay, that happens, and you're right about that. But even as bad as Trubisky is, you can't tell me the delta, the change between Pickett and Trubisky is that big. This isn't Joe Burrow going down. This isn't,
It is. I can't explain why. Mitchell Trubisky is so bad.
Okay, but it's not that Kenny Pickett's great, though. See, that's the thing. You're not going for the
He is great
Hall
compared
of
to
Fame.
Trubisky.
No, he's not.
He really is. The last 2 games, the offense has looked really good with Trubisky, with Pickett, and has not looked good with Trubisky.
He looks better, but not great. I mean, that's the whole knock on Kenny Pickett, is he looks the same as year 1 as he does in year 2, maybe even a little bit worse. The other part, too, about this Pittsburgh team, and tell me if you guys noticed this last night, it's actually been a theme for a couple weeks, but we kind of don't address it because they were winning some of these lucky games, and hey, they're in the playoff hunt.
Yeah.
Could the body language be any worse on this team on offense? Holy moly.
When Pickett got hurt, they went from feeling themselves to, I'm telling you, watch the Cardinals. It was the Cardinals game where the body language started to fall apart, and then it just never came back for this game.
Remember when Deontay Johnson scrubbed his social media and nobody even paid it any mind?
Yeah, George Pickens had the issues.
Yeah, those guys are not team guys. So I'm not surprised.
Well, here's the thing. Those guys, you need those guys on board.
Yeah,
because they're 2 great receivers, by the way.
Great receivers?
I think George Pickens is a great receiver who is...
That's interesting.
What?
I don't know if I agree with that. I just think he makes a lot of circus catches. I'd be curious if what all his routes look like if you were watching the All-22. And I know Deontay Johnson set the all-time single-season record for drops. He's the reason Ben had to retire. So Deontay Johnson talks a great game and is really good, but
he's wide open in the end zone, and they miss him.
I don't know. I'm not so sure these are great receivers. DeAndre Hopkins is a great receiver. You're saying Deontay Johnson and George Pickens are great receivers?
I think George Pickens has the ability to be a great receiver.
He looks like he is. I don't know, but I'll bet you that he is still developing as an overall receiver.
Okay, well, that's fine. We can agree on that. But here's the thing. That also comes down on the head coach. Because that body language and that loser energy on the sideline, that has to come from the head coach because you're not a loser franchise. You're not a loser organization. So the fact that either guys can get away with this or they're not on the same page or whatever has to go back to the head coach, doesn't it?
Yes, but a quarterback injury, I don't think you can underestimate going from Pickett to Trubisky. And I think also emotionally what it did to this team. It just gutted the team. I'm surprised that you are like, I would think Trubisky's been in the NFL long enough where he could win a game.
Yeah.
They know he can't. And I don't know why they know that, but they know it.
Okay, well then, again, all back to the head coach. If you really think Mitchell Trubisky is that bad, right, and he is that bad, I don't think Kenny Pickett's that good where it's such a big, drastic change. But if you think he's that bad, then put Mason Rudolph in the game. Do something.
Yeah.
Because they're doing nothing right now and expecting to win because they were having these miracle wins earlier in the season, and it's just not the same.
Well, they're expecting to win because Arizona and New England were in the house.
Right. They were expecting those teams would just trip up and fall on their faces, and they didn't.
No, I understand. This is not the finest effort by Tomlin, but I think if you add a quarterback to this team, they're going to be all of a Steelers very dangerous.
I know, but how many teams can you say that about, Perloff? I mean, honestly, like that's the whole thing about winning in the NFL.
They're way more. No, I think the Steelers have more talent around their quarterback position than most teams.
Okay, but you don't think that Pickens and Deontay Johnson are good receivers, so who's the
No,
talent?
No.
Freiermuth?
You said great receivers.
Okay. You want to?
I think they're good receivers, but no, I don't think
right.
they're. I don't think they're Jerry Rice and Jonathan Taylor.
Well, of course they're not Jerry
But you
Rice.
said great. They have these two great receivers.
I think they have
and
the
then
ability.
You just downgraded me to good.
I think they have the ability to be great. I think George Pickens has the ability to be great.
George Pickens is a very talented player, and I'm not so sold. I'd like to get our friend Andrew Filipponi on there to explain what's really going on with George Pickens because it's a mystery. You look at the Steelers, you're like, why don't they throw the ball to that guy every time? They're not dumb.
No, but then weirdly, and this is why this game felt really stupid last night from the play calling, both sides, by the way. But this is why it felt pretty stupid, is because you're not pushing the ball downfield at all. You're trying these weird reverse, like you try to reverse play,
the first one
worked,
looked great.
And then you do it again on the first drive out of halftime. Like, of course they're expecting it. It went for a 7-yard loss. Anyway.
Well, also, the reason I think the Steelers thought everything was fixed was Kenny Pickett with Pat Freiermuth on the field is a pretty good quarterback. So Freiermuth got back. He was back 2 games, and he was healthy for the Cincinnati game. Like, that was a formula. You could see the offense was moving well.
Sure.
Like, Pickett and Freiermuth have a great connection. And then when Pickett went down, that was heartbreaking.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's a good connection, but to me, it's not, Brady to Gronk level of productive. And every young quarterback loves a pass-catching tight end, like, obviously.
Especially when you have small hands, you really need to get into that tight end. I just think they thought they had fixed a lot. I think they thought that they were on a rocket ship.
Well,
after Canada got fired, I think the optimism was through the roof.
Well, you lose 2 games to teams who would want to combine 4 games in the span of 5 days. So I think that optimism is probably all out the window. But the other thing, too, about the stupid play calling, as I was saying, the reverses were dumb. When Freiermuth was covered, they didn't know where to go. Trubisky had no idea where to go with the ball. And then on a 3rd and 1 and a 4th and 2, and especially the 4th and 2 late in the game, so you're down by 3 points. Like, you have a chance to just get in field goal range, tie this thing up, and then see what happens in overtime. And they have a 4th and 2 where they've already successfully executed a couple QB sneaks. Whatever. You have options here on short yardage. They go for it all. They go for the home run play, probably thinking they're going to get a flag, and they don't. And that's it. It's over.
Yeah.
So stupid.
Did the Eagles hit one of these recently? Somebody hit one of those last week. It was a 4th and 1 and a key moment. They hit a bomb. Do you remember?
Yes, but that was, I believe, it might have been Jalen Hurts, who's an MVP candidate.
Yeah, I do.
Not Mitchell Trubisky, who is a former Pro Bowler somehow, some way.
I think they think you don't need to be as accurate when you're throwing it 40 yards down the field. Get some air under the ball.
Yeah. Listen, but they didn't get the benefit of the doubt. The refs were not on their side on that one.
Actually, there is accuracy means less when you're flying down the 50-yard pass. So I have no idea. Yeah, no, the Steelers are a mess. Obviously, they just lost to the Cardinals and Patriots at home. I just think you cannot underestimate the impact of the Kenny Pickett injury. Pickett doesn't get hurt. They beat the Cardinals, and there's no way they let down like this. You're right. The body language was not good.
Oof.
They've completely sort of given up on this team. TJ Watt and Hayward, those guys who are great leaders, they look uninspired.
And did TJ Watt break his jaw last night? I mean, they saw on the sideline the doctors like sticking his fingers in his mouth to see if his jaw might have been broken.
He gets hurt. Yeah, that can't slow down TJ Watt. What, are you kidding me?
No, it did not. A little sound, please, shall we? Can we hear a little bit of Mike Tomlin? Not cashing in on the turnovers was the key.
In terms of how the game unfolded, thought the significant difference, they got 7 points off of their turnover. On the short field, we got 0 off of ours. And so that's the difference in the game. And usually it is the turnover component and your ability to support each other on the other side of it, or inability. And that was the difference in the game in terms of the outcome. So that's disappointing.
I totally agree with that.
One reason, sure.
Zappi totally gave that game away. I couldn't believe they let Bailey Zappi throw that pass that got picked, and the Steelers got down to the 10-yard line and then screwed up on 4th down. But they finally got Bailey Zappi to make a mistake, and that was a huge play. I couldn't believe they didn't score there.
So here's the thing, though, about that play. It happened in the third quarter. It happened in the third quarter is when Zappi threw that interception, and then the Steelers turn it over on downs. I'm sorry, the 4th and 2 happened the first play of the fourth quarter. You had a whole quarter to make up for that, and they couldn't do it.
They won. That game was going so slow. You're talking like it's a normal game. They only had 2 more possessions.
No, they scored a touchdown.
They scored, but if they had scored there, that was heartbreaking for the Steelers when they could not get the ball in the end zone off the Zappi pick. Because it seemed,
but they did score after that to make it 21-18.
Yeah,
and then it was punt, turnover on downs, end of the game.
Yeah, Trubisky took some sacks. Yeah, no, I understand what happened here.
Just brutal.
I think Tomlin, though, does have a good point. Like, they came in and said, oh, we're going to take advantage of Bailey Zappi. And can we give some credit to that dude and to Ezekiel Elliott? I think the Patriots played somewhat inspired football.
I also think the Patriots defense is good, has been good.
Oh, it's great.
And they have major injuries on their defense with no Judon, no Christian Gonzalez, and they still find a way to be super disruptive. I mean, it's still Belichick over there.
And look at the depth chart of their wide receivers last night. That was unbelievable. I mean, was Ty Montgomery running routes? So they have basically non-receivers playing receiver because Devontae Parker was out. It was unbelievably thin. Do we give the Patriots any credit? Because my Patriot friends are really miserable right now.
Oh, this is a terrible win for them. Terrible win for them. How dare they win this game? I mean, you're careening towards the number 1 pick maybe. Now, if the season ended today, they still would have the 2nd pick. So that 3rd win, but, we got a whole week to play here.
Yeah, and they look like, oh my gosh, bad news. They could win another one, or maybe even 2.
I mean, it should be a meltdown in New England if they win 2 more games. Take them totally out of Caleb Williams or Drake May.
Yeah.
That would be awful.
And by the way, it's now called a Lovie Smith when you win a game at the end of the season to screw your team. But it worked out great for the Houston Texans because they got C.J. Stroud. So maybe it'll work out great for the Patriots. That was my thought process last night. I'm like, well, C.J. Stroud's awesome. So that's who they landed with.
They should cut Lovie a check. EJ, you look like you want to say something about this game.
Yeah, I mean, on the Tomlin front, I know we talk about how bad the offense was in Trubisky and how he kind of sinks the entire team. But this is supposed to be a defensive first team. And I think we think about Tomlin, we think of defense. How much blame should he get for that? I mean, okay, Trubisky is terrible and that sucks the life out of the defense. But you're playing against a New England Patriots. You're playing against a Bailey Zappi who's been turning the ball over left and right when he plays.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that just, when we talk about divvying blame, whether or not we have to move on from Tomlin, it just feels like it's a great defense that has a great infrastructure in place. You could probably move on from Tomlin and still find a coach who can get that defense to play well, but maybe advance them offensively. Like, how much is Tomlin at this point holding them back? Because watching them over the last 2 weeks, it just feels like they play football like it's 2005, and everyone else is playing like it's 2023.
Wait, by the way, the defense last night, I think they were shocked when the Patriots came out throwing the ball. They were clearly very surprised.
But that's on Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, that's not an endorsement for Tomlin.
I got to be, but wasn't everybody shocked? The Patriots had not thrown the ball in a month and a half at all. They've just run. And last night they came out like the greatest show on turf. It was bizarre. So, and then Steelers defense settled down in a big way.
They did lose Alex Highsmith, too. Again, he's been kind of in and out of the lineup. 855-212-4CBS. Are you pinning this failure on Mike Tomlin? Are you putting it on Kenny Pickett just being injured?
The quarterback injury, not on Kenny Pickett.
Sure. Quarterback injury.
But you're not going to pin this loss on Kenny Pickett. That's what I mean.
Oh, yes. No.
Yeah.
He wasn't playing last night. His injury, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Okay, lots to do, including a very, very embarrassing, cringeworthy moment for an NFL coach. It's all becoming public now. The dirty laundry's coming out, guys. We'll tell you exactly what we mean. Glad to have you. Good morning. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. We're debating what poll question we should put up. EJ, what did you go with for the Steelers debacle last night?
So there was some grammatical hangups I had to deal with, but basically I went with who is to blame for
You're our journalism school, dude.
Yeah, my last class last night, by the way. Who is to blame for the Steelers' loss last night? So the question, obviously, following their loss, Mike Tomlin, Mitchell Trubisky. Those are the two choices you have. You can, of course, vote.
Wow, that's a tough choice.
It's a real toss-up.
Yeah, I got to be honest, though. Like, I would say
by the way.
Tomlin does get blamed, but, I mean, Trubisky's a pretty good guy for Tomlin to have on that poll opposite him. I think
pretty good
Trubisky,
scapegoat.
Yeah, I think Trubisky wins this one.
I think that people are fed up with Tomlin. And, listen, they're going to do they're booing Trubisky. To his credit, he didn't, I don't think he let it bother him too much. He got him back into the game, I guess, in the fourth quarter with a touchdown. But it's like, I just think people are fed up. We talked to Ross Tucker about this yesterday. It's the middle, the mediocrity.
Yeah, limbo.
You're never going to be good enough to win a Super Bowl, but you're not going to be bad enough to cause real changes to happen. And especially with this organization, the Steelers, who have had, 4 coaches in their entire history.
But they've been able to reinvent themselves before in this situation where they've been mediocre, stuck in a rut, and then gotten a lead out of nowhere. For the first Super Bowl team that beat the Seahawks, nobody really saw that team coming up, and then they reinvented themselves as this offensive team with obviously all those stars, Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. So I think I think there's another reinvention coming. I really do. I would not let go of Tomlin.
I get why people are agita about this, if you will.
It's funny, thinking about reinventions. I think that's a good point, Perloff, because I think about Andy Reid and who he was as Philadelphia Eagles head coach. And there's some principles he's still taking with him in KC, but I mean, he's not the same coach he was in 2004. And then I think of the counterpart that Tomlin had last night in Bill Belichick and how so many of the issues has been the fact that Bill Belichick is also playing football like it's 2005. And it feels like Tomlin right now is at a crossroads. Is he going to kind of get with the times and kind of what the NFL is today? Or is he going to kind of revert back to what he knows, which is run the ball, defense, play the clock? Right now, that is not working. I thought that when they had Le'Veon Bell and they had Antonio Brown, they were slinging the ball down the field. They may not have won a Super Bowl, but to me, that was clearly where the Steelers needed to evolve.
Right.
It felt like when that fell apart, Tomlin kind of went back to his comfort blanket, which is, we're going to just play defense. Smash mouth.
Well,
because last time he had some divas that he had to get the ball to, and it didn't work out so well.
Well, I would disagree. I think the Steelers fans say those guys were divas, and you had these kind of character questions. You didn't have the team that won in the early 2000s, the mid-2000s, was full of all these tough old veterans on defense, Troy Polamalu, killers. And I think that was – and then he had all these pretty boy wide receivers, and it all fell apart.
Well, let's not also forget Ben Roethlisberger had some character stuff as well.
Well, no, I'm just saying the defense led them to those early Super Bowls. So I think that's probably – I think EJ's right. I think that's why that's his comfort blanket is to go back to a defense-led team and not an offense-led. Yeah, when Ben Roethlisberger was throwing for 4,500 yards, they felt somewhat less dangerous than when Troy Polamalu was out there destroying people.
But here's the thing, right? It's like, yeah, of course, it's easier for a coach to win games when he has a Hall of Fame quarterback at the helm, right? Whether your defense is great or not great, it makes your job so much easier. Now you got a crappy situation at quarterback. Now what can you do? Listen, we're watching Belichick struggle with this, right? It's not easy, but I can understand the frustration with Mike Tomlin. All right, so that's the poll. Yeah.
What if they bring in a good offensive coordinator next year?
Well, do you trust Tomlin to make that hire? Because he just had the Matt Canada hire, and apparently it was like pulling teeth to get them to move on from Matt Canada.
Yeah, but their GM is on fire. He's doing nothing but it's Omar Khan, right? He's making amazing picks. Let him pick an offense coordinator. Why can they pick all these great rookies and bring in all this talent and not get the coaching staff on the offense right?
Well, and you got to develop them. I mean, you had it's just very interesting. You had Kirk Herbstreit last night talking about, what was it, Darnell Wright, the tight end. He's like, this guy's a blocker, and he's just been a blocker. Like when he was at Georgia, he was catching passes along with Brock Bowers. Like this is a weapon in the red zone, a guy who's 6'7" and 260 pounds, and they never use him. I don't know.
Well, he fell because he was hurt. I mean, he was a lot of teams
playing last night.
Yeah, I mean, okay, whatever. But my point is that, there's talent here. They just need the right coach. They can find somebody. It's not that hard to find an offensive coordinator, Maggie. I mean, if you want to talk about the impact of a coach, there's we could get to your team a little later.
Yeah, no, we're going to get to the Buffalo Bills because they are in the news. First, Jeff is in Pittsburgh. Give us a little boots on the ground. Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Bad morning.
Yeah, sorry. Tough one.
I'm not a Tomlin hater, but I just think his time's kind of ran its course in Pittsburgh. I give you, the guy hasn't won a playoff game since 2016.
Yeah.
What other coach has held a job that would have that record? He's lost to the likes of Tim Tebow in the playoffs. He's lost to the likes of Blake Bortles in the playoffs. I mean, Mike Tomlin is the mere definition of an average coach. I don't know why people give him all
the
this
credit. So,
great.
Jeff, I would say that he's definitely not an average coach. He's definitely better than average because he continues to find ways to win, whether it's lucky at times or not. And I understand. Listen, the Bortles thing and the Tebow thing, like, you're just never living those down. Like, you lose to Brady and the Patriots, it's almost, I don't say forgivable, but people understand. You can't lose to Bortles. You cannot lose to Tim Tebow, who basically never had a career after that game. The next season, then he was gone.
I understand what Jeff is saying. I understand the frustration, but there has been a lot of success. I mean, he's got one of the better winning percentages of a longtime coach in NFL history. Never has a losing season. The playoffs, listen, that team that lost to Tim Tebow was not a great team. It's not like they were going to go on to win the Super Bowl anyway. So I do understand the criticism here, but I just think maybe I'm just a Tomlin believer. What he does well. He inspires his team. Get the right offensive coordinator in there, and it's all going to work. It's one piece, Maggie.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Andrew Bogusch is here. He's got some headlines. Top of the muffin to you.
Good morning, guys. Those headlines sponsored by Northern Tool and Equipment. Get the tools you need from the brands you trust. Start solving your projects today at northerntool.com. We're made for this. When Perloff spun his wheel of excuses for Bailey Zappi last weekend, it landed on Mother Nature keeping the Pats QB off the scoreboard against the Chargers. Last night in Pittsburgh, Mother Nature let her guard down.
Zappi overplayed, throws to left. Henry in the end zone makes the catch. Dives in. Touchdown, Patriots.
Bob Sosi, Scott Zolak on Pats Radio. Zappi, a hat trick of first half TD throws, the first New England QB to do that since Tom Brady in 2018. But then I guess it got cold and rainy and windy in Pittsburgh because the Pats didn't score in the second half, but they hung on for a 21-18 victory over those Steelers, ending their 5-game skid. So now Zappi and the boys are 3-10.
Had a great first half. You know, there's things that we're going to clean up in the second half that we didn't do very well, personally me. But, you know, it's great to win.
Man, he was loving life in the first half. Every time on the sideline, smiling, telling jokes.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You're saying he had a bad second half. After he threw that pick, Bill Belichick's like, you're not throwing the football anywhere near the defense again. So it's not like he could have gotten any more stats there. They got conservative.
But I think that was our point the other day, is that they don't trust him enough to let the reins off because he's Bailey Zappi.
I think the Patriots did a rope-a-dope. They did not let him throw it all last week. Then they come out last night and they're throwing it all over the yard, and the Steelers did not expect it. So it was actually a 2-game plan by Belichick to fool the Steelers.
The setup and then the
Chestnut checkers, Bogusch.
Yeah.
The Steelers dropped to 7-6 after 2 losses in 4 days to 10-loss opposition. They do not have a playoff spot this morning, but as we know, the real drama last night was in Vegas. Lakers, Pelicans, LeBron, Zion, NBA Cup semifinals.
Now LeBron the other way. Oh, my gosh.
That was from TNT. LeBron scoring 11 consecutive points to open the second quarter. He had 21 by halftime. Didn't need to play the fourth quarter, finishing with 30 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, in a 133-89 laugher over those Pels. Up next for LA is Indy. The Pacers outscored the Bucks in the first semi 128-119, with Tyrese Halliburton putting up 27 points and 15 assists.
That's
exciting.
Yeah, you can't just say like Tyrese Halliburton and then like read the line. He looked like he was the best player in the NBA for the last 5 minutes of that game. It was crazy.
5 minutes by the last 5 weeks.
Well,
He's
definitely
been on a tear.
But there was something about the last 5 minutes of that game. He was responsible for everything. He was getting the rebounds. He was shooting. I feel like he was setting his own picks somehow. I don't know what was going on. It was like 1 against 5.
We had to confirm recently that Miles Turner was still a Pacer, and he was out there last night.
Second best player on the team.
Exactly.
that pick and roll going. I mean, Halliburton though he was calling the plays, he was getting the water, like he was running the scoreboard table. He was literally doing everything on the court. It's pretty wild.
Bronny James went through his first full contact practice at USC yesterday, the next big step in his return from July's cardiac episode. He may make his game debut Sunday against Long Beach State. Hockey last night, Alex Ovechkin with an assist for 1,500 career points, but his Capitals lose to the Stars 5-4 in a shootout. And let's finish back in the NFL. We are still talking about Eagles-Bills from 2 weekends ago because the Eagles and Bills are still talking about it. Jason Kelce called Buffalo D lineman Jordan Phillips dirty for bulldozing through the Philly O-line before a snap on one play. Phillips said, "Hello, Kettle."
You look at the tush push, he dives at somebody's knees every play and tries to roll him up. So for him to speak on somebody being dirty, I don't think he has any right or any means to call for a fine when he does a whole bunch of stuff. So I just think that's kind of crazy for him to even mention that.
Interesting thought.
Yeah.
Eagles are dirty.
You know what?
Staff members.
See, here's the thing. The Phillips thing was just a little more overt because he busted through the line.
Yeah, gotta be a little more subtle.
Yeah, the Kelce stuff is a little more subtle because no one knows what's going on in that scrum.
I feel like every center in the NFL is super dirty, though. By definition, aren't you supposed to hike the ball and go at the guy's legs? Isn't that the position?
Do you want to hear something startling? Ross Tucker, who you guys had on yesterday,
Yeah.
right? I mean, couldn't be jollier, goofier.
Right.
Ross has a legit reputation when he played for being super dirty.
Oh, yeah.
It's an interior lineman. How can you call a guard or a center dirty? They're like shorter
just
and less strong than everybody
Mark
else.
Flair
Just
was called
dirty.
stink.
Yeah. Remember
Also-
Conrad Dobler, the famous, like old school, the dirtiest player? I think he was an interior lineman.
Also, don't trust that Tucker. He's going around, he's pulling out people's microphones, he's switching people's chairs. That guy's a menace.
Phillips, of course, blaming a podcast for Kelce thinking he can say whatever he wants these days.
He is a well-respected guy around the league for whatever reason. And now he suddenly has a voice because he's on his brother's podcast and whatnot, so he thinks he can use it. But the way he's using his voice, it doesn't make any sense.
Sick burn.
Are they playing again this year? Can we get a rematch?
No, why are the Bills talking about the Eagles and the Eagles talking about the Bills? What are we going? What are
Kelce
we doing
started it because he said something about Jalen Phillips
Yeah,
on the
but
podcast.
If I'm Jordan Phillips,
Phillips,
I would immediately say we got a game this weekend. I don't care about what happened before. That's what.
No, he's speaking truth to power, which is, everyone loves Jason Kelce. Meanwhile, here's the real tea. The real dirt is that he's actually, he's going at people's knees.
I mean, honestly, I think Jordan Phillips has a point here. I mean, should Kelce be using his platform to try to get other guys fined? Like, we all know he has this big podcast, and in part is because of the popularity of his brother. I don't know, in the NFL and most sports, you don't go in another man's pocket. This feels like Jason Kelce kind of going in another man's pocket. If you really want to make an issue, the Eagles and him, they can call the NFL and say, hey, look at these plays.
Right.
Like this put,
I'm sure they're doing that too.
Right, but this put this major spotlight on Jordan Phillips and puts a target on his back. We know fans are crazy now. You got Eagles fans probably saying, oh, you suck, blah, 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 blah. I kind of thought that I agreed with Phillips. I thought this was a little corny.
I don't think the Eagles and Bills will play for another 4 years, right?
No.
Most likely. I know that schedule changed with 17th game, but I don't know. This feels like a non-story to me because the winner thing to say is I don't want to talk about that. It happened 2 weeks ago. We have the Chiefs on Sunday. Why? If I'm either guy, I'm not. And you're right. Jason Kelce should not be talking about that. I agree. But I guess in a podcast, you have a lot of time to kill.
You got content you got to churn out here. It can't all be Taylor Swift takes.
But I actually do think that Kelce said it for the first time immediately after the game. It was not on he didn't bring this up. If he did on the podcast, it was not the first time he talked about it. After the game, he was in the locker room. He talked about the plays because people thought Phillips, there's like 4 or 5 plays in the game that Phillips, like at one point, looked like he put his knee on somebody to get up off of. Yeah. So it was a locker room conversation.
It is very easy to believe that Jordan Phillips is also probably a dirty player because all good linemen are dirty players, and I want 5 dirty linemen on my team.
By the way, his voice does not match
his size.
The dirty player, moniker we're giving Jordan Phillips. I mean, he sounds like he'd be a college professor.
Are you kidding me? How about Ndamukong Suh? You ever hear him talk? And he's the most famous dirty player, and his voice he seems like the nicest guy in an interview. And then you get him on the field, and he'll rip your head off.
The number one person whose voice did not match their ferociousness, Mike Tyson. Like that's the ultimate one. This is not to that extent, but it's pretty good.
I was thinking Troy Polamalu, the guy we mentioned earlier, another one who played with his hair on fire and would kill people. And
Troy
he's just like,
Polamalu is
God
like,
bless
yeah,
you.
I'm just
God
a
bless
little
you, brother.
mellow Hawaiian. Let's sit around and play that tiny guitar, and then you get on the field. It's like,
Ukulele, you mean?
yeah, watch
with
out for
Junior
your life.
Seau.
Yeah.
Junior Seau was a really, hey, buddy, everyone, may he rest in peace, but obviously ferocious hitter.
I'm done, guys.
That was great.
Perloff's a dirty player.
You guys are trying to get at me with the tush push, and if you think you are, it's still legal.
No, just enjoy it now.
Here's the thing:
while you can,
your days are numbered.
Yep, and then you'll be a
They're
terrible
circling.
football team.
You guys did not
It'll be
follow logic.
6-0.
I said the tush push is 90%. They're 90% effective on 4th and 1 compared to 84% effective for the rest of the league. You're like, that 6% is huge. Get out of here.
Actually, it was 8%. To be clear.
Oh, that's seven's the threshold.
Well, there you go. The Eagles might as well throw out the playbook and start over. Come on, Tom Brady never missed a 4th and 1. It's not that hard to QB sneak if you have any coordination whatsoever.
Did you see Bailey Zappi try to do
I
the tush
know.
push last night? They lost yardage.
Just
Trubisky
sneak.
worked it.
Trubisky
Yep,
had
Trubisky
a
did it.
7-yard sneak last night. It's so easy to sneak. People are making way too big a deal out of this.
Thank you, Bogusch. People making a big deal out of something. We're going to do that next. And by the way, we're totally warranted because one NFL coach is getting outed for a ridiculous motivation tactic that he tried to pull with his team. And it is unfathomable. We will get to that next. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All right, welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. You can stream the NFL on Westwood One for free, sponsored by AutoZone all season long. You can listen to every Westwood One broadcast of the NFL live on the NFL app by asking Alexa to open Westwood One Sports or on the Odyssey app. Get in the zone, AutoZone. The free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help you find a fix for free. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply. We're talking about Mike Tomlin and the Steelers today, but I got to tell you, Maggie, there's a lot of coaches in the news.
Not for great reasons. And that's what brings us to my Buffalo Bills. And Ty Dunne is a reporter, longtime reporter, and now writes for Go Long, his own website and Substack. And he's going to join us later on in the show. But he took a very extensive deep dive into Sean McDermott, the head coach of the Buffalo Bills, and sort of why things have gone so poorly for the Bills this year. Bills, a Super Bowl contender by all accounts. Yes, they had injuries on the defense, but they lost to the Patriots. I mean, they lost to the Denver Broncos with 12 men on the field. And like how the Bills have had these failures in these really high-profile big games, right? We talked about that. When the Bills actually won a big game. So he took a deep dive and looked at Sean McDermott, and what he found was pretty alarming. Now, for most Bills fans, you get this. You get that Sean McDermott's not Mr. Warm and Fuzzy. You get the idea that he's not exactly a player's coach. He doesn't come off like a Doug Peterson or someone like that. He comes off as a kind of uptight guy, right? And that doesn't mean bad, right, necessarily. He's buttoned up. He expects a lot. He demands a lot. He's unforgiving in a lot of ways. I think maybe some people would say like a little too stuck in his ways or what have you. But again, you can win that way. Bill Belichick has taught us you can win that way by being kind of tight and not, all buddy-buddy with the players. But this anecdote came out to just show you and crystallize perhaps how clueless Sean McDermott is as a communicator. This is a story from training camp from a couple years ago where they do training camp in Rochester, New York, and Pittsford at St. John Fisher College. He brought the team together for a morning meeting, if you will, addressing the team. He wanted to get across an idea that you have to stick together as a team. And I'm just going to read here because Ty did this better than I can. Sources on hand say he used a strange model to, talk about teamwork. The terrorists on September 11, 2001. He cited the hijackers as a group of people who were all able to get on the same page to orchestrate attacks to perfection. One by one, McDermott started asking specific players in the room questions. What tactics do you think they used to come together? A young player tried to methodically answer, What do you think their biggest obstacle was? A veteran answered TSA, which mercifully lightened the mood. This is unfathomable. First of all, there are a million ways to orchestrate teamwork. To go to the 9/11 hijackers on the hijackers side of this to illustrate teamwork, Perloff, I can't even imagine what must have been going through his head to think that this is a way to illustrate teamwork to a group of men.
Yeah, I mean, if you'd gone on the passenger side on UA 93, that would have made sense. It's so out of left field. Like, it's almost beyond criticism because it's so stupid. It's like there's no two sides to this. What bothers me about it, and I think why it's scary, is you don't normalize 9/11. You don't normalize the Holocaust, and that's what happens over time. 20 years ago, to say this, he would have been fired immediately.
Right.
So I don't think he should be fired for this. I don't know about the larger pattern because you don't want to see somebody canceled over one terrible analogy. But this is a bad idea, and it shows a real lack of judgment here.
So one coach, Ty had 7 sources who told him this story.
Yeah.
So this wasn't made up. This wasn't anything like that. And McDermott has
McDermott
admitted.
confirmed it.
He confirmed it. We'll play that for you in a minute. But one coach said about this specific incident, quote, he doesn't have bad intentions. He's just so clueless that he couldn't believe that it was a big deal when the players were losing their mind. See, like, that's a problem. It's a problem to do this, to say it, and then to think, like, why is everyone getting upset? That's a major disconnect. And it just goes to show, like, this is someone who's in a leadership position. This is somebody who has to be making tough calls on things. This is someone who has to communicate with people. And to be this clueless about it illustrates a larger issue to me.
It does feel a little funny to me that it looks like there are people trying to make an excuse to get him out of there because they're losing too. The two are a little separate. If they were 13-3 like they were last year, this whole story would have been taken. It wasn't just that incident, by the way. There's many incidents in the story. Right? The whole story would have been taken differently. So I do think you can't avoid the fact that McDermott's on the hottest of hot seats already. I have a question for you. Is this the straw that breaks the camel's back? Is it the details of the story, or is it what's happening on the field? That's what I'm curious about.
How do you separate the two?
That's a great question.
How do you separate the two? Because, you already fired your defensive coordinator. You fired your offensive coordinator. The other thing in the piece is that there has been basically a mass exodus of coaches who have left, and this is all stuff behind the scenes, to go to lateral moves. Like, you're a 13-3 team. This is not generally when coaches jump off the bandwagon here. You want to stick around, win a Super Bowl, and be known and be attached to a good team. And according to Ty and sources, guys are sprinting out the door because they don't want to work for him. Now, again, listen, like, here's the thing about Belichick. Belichick, I don't think, is an easy guy to work for. But what happens? All the guys come back. Patricia comes back. Josh McDaniels comes back. Bill O'Brien comes back. They all come back. No one's coming back for McDermott. They're out the door, and they're going to worse situations, and they don't care. And you've got Josh Allen there, and that's another part of the story, which is, listen, you've got a generational quarterback that the Buffalo Bills have been looking for almost 30 years. Like, even if you're on the defensive side of the ball, you've got to have a relationship with that guy, right? Like, Belichick and Brady, yes, it got bad at the end, but of course they had a relationship, even though Belichick was a defensive guy. There's no relationship. According to Ty and the sources he talked to in the story, there's just no relationship there. I mean, that's a problem. Like, to not understand that
What do you
as
mean,
a head
like they
coach,
don't say hi in the hallway?
I don't think, no, it's not like that. It's just there's no trust. Like, they don't have a bond. There's no trust, and you can tell by certain play calls the way that plays out on the field. You have 20 seconds left in one timeout, and you take a knee against your Philadelphia Eagles, and that's just the latest example.
Oh, you mean at halftime?
No, at the end of the game to go to overtime.
right before overtime. Okay.
That's just one example, but there is no relationship.
I mean, that I understood the logic. Okay. I mean, I understand all this. The funny thing is I feel a little defensive of Sean McDermott because he's from kind of really close to where I grew up, and he's an Andy Reid guy. He'll go right to Andy Reid. I just think these pieces, and I love Ty, it just feels like maybe there's more to the story. Maybe there is a case for Sean McDermott because how did he win all these football games if he was such a terrible guy and such a terrible coach?
Well, I'm hesitant to say terrible guy. I think that it's but despite that 9/11 analogy, which was just horrible.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's terrible guy. I think it's clueless. I think it's aloof. I think it's defensive. I think it's pointing fingers at everyone else and not himself, like not taking accountability when they fail in big moments. I mean, those are character flaws, but I don't know if he's a bad guy. Anyway, we got more on this. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He thinks Frisbee golf is the sport of the future. She's sticking with football. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Just bad all around last night for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Listen, you lose to the Patriots. It happens, right? But Perloff, that game was so winnable for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, they should not have lost that game, and they did. This is a team that's in a playoff hunt. The Patriots are on a collision course with maybe the number 1 overall pick. And I thought the Steelers, the play calling was stupid at times, and the game plan just really stunk.
Yeah, nobody likes running on first and second down and then throwing with Mitchell Trubisky on third down. Actually, and I understand why the wide receivers get so frustrated. Just, you saw the Patriots do it. The Patriots were the same team as the Steelers. Too conservative. Then they were flinging it around on first down, and all of a sudden they won a football game. So it does show you, if Bill Belichick can change, maybe Mike Tomlin can change. So I think the Steelers are getting, maybe, this could sound weird because they just lost to 2 games to 2-10 teams. I think they're getting too much heat because I think this is mainly a function of Kenny Pickett getting hurt.
Okay, that's where you and I are going to disagree on this. You lose, yes, twice in 5 days to 2 teams that have a combined 4 wins.
Yeah.
Both at home. I mean, just black.
No, that's not good.
No, it's not. But you think that Kenny Pickett was like this huge upgrade.
They would have won the Cardinals game for sure with Kenny Pickett.
They lost 24-10. That wasn't a 1-score game.
But I'm positive they were going to win that game. They were about to go up 10-3. Pickett got hurt, and the whole team fell apart.
Okay, but here's the thing.
And, the other thing. And then they would have carried that with more confidence. I honestly think they would have won both those games with Kenny Pickett.
Okay, but you don't know. And the thing is if you just look at it objectively, Kenny Pickett and Mitchell Trubisky are actually not that far apart because Kenny Pickett is a bottom quarterback in the league by every metric. Now, you can blame the offensive coordinator for that or whatever, but Kenny Pickett is a quarterback that is not developed from year 1 to year 2, and he is not a great quarterback. He's pulled out some miraculous wins. Sometimes he's got these final drives that come out of nowhere, but he's not a great quarterback.
But didn't he look good against the Bengals 3 weeks ago now to you? That didn't look like a good quarterback?
Well, I thought that was a little new coach bump, a little everyone can exhale because Matt Canada's now out of the building and we get a new offense here.
Yeah.
And yeah, they put up 400 yards of offense for the first time in like 5 years or something. And
I actually thought he looked pretty good against Arizona. It was a weird weather game, obviously.
Yeah.
I think Kenny Pickett got a second life with Matt Canada being fired, and then they took that life away, and I felt like the whole team just lost their mojo.
Okay, well, that's on the head coach then, because you have a team that going into this game last night was still holding down the top wild card position in a very bunched up AFC where all these games are going to matter. And the fact that on a short week where Tomlin usually has been good on a short week with a back against the wall, and they were terrible. So that has to go on the coaching too. And again, like, yes, you're hamstrung because you don't have your starting quarterback, but it's not like you went from a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback to now like the dreg of the roster. Like it's not that different between Pickett and Trubisky.
I totally understand what you're saying, but here is the issue. There's real heat on Mike Tomlin now. People are talking about moving on. This is a franchise that is defined by their loyalty to their coaches. And guess what? They've been winning for years and years and years. What happens if they start to become a revolving door like the Carolina Panthers or something? They could easily be irrelevant.
Bro, if it's been 16 years, it's not the revolving door, but sometimes things just do take their course. I mean, this is the thing. The people who say Mike Tomlin should be fired or should be wearing this a lot more than he does, that is not just about last night. Right? This is, you're bringing a lot of baggage, as we always do with coaches. And this is like emblematic, I think, of things that Steeler fans have been frustrated about for a while.
Well, look at the division. I was thinking about this.
Yeah.
The Bengals, most teams would have fired Zach Taylor when he was 2-14. What happens? They don't fire him and they go to the Super Bowl. They lose the Super Bowl, but still, they're an elite team now. John Harbaugh was in serious heat in Baltimore. They were so ready to move on. Now they have the best team in the NFL, arguably. So, and Tom Brady the other day said continuity is the key.
Yeah.
If they fire Mike Tomlin, I'm telling you, it's going to be bad. Because first of all, they don't have a quarterback. I'm saying Kenny Pickett is good. They could easily be a bottom feeder team. They could be the 2-10 team if they fire Tomlin. Because who's coming in to save that team?
Well, that's where I think that type of thinking and rationale is flawed. Because first of all, you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. No one's ever going to confuse you with the Cleveland Browns.
Yes, because you've had this stability of coaching.
Right. 16 years, though. Yeah. This is not, you're not making a hairpin decision. And to say, well, who else is going to be coming in? They could be worse. That's a loser mentality. Why not think the next person could be better? I mean, would you say that, Cowher was good and maybe Tomlin's better than Cowher? And Cowher's a Hall of Famer. And so why wouldn't you think, if I'm the Steelers, I shouldn't be afraid of what's after Mike Tomlin?
Cowher left on his own terms. That wasn't an upgrade.
Right, they weren't. But you got a second Hall of Famer. You filled the role.
No, I think you look at Cleveland and say, oh, my God, they've tried a million guys. The last thing you want to be is a coaching carousel. That is the worst thing a franchise can do.
But they're not going to be. They've had 4 coaches since their entire organization was created. Why now all of a sudden they're not going to become a carousel?
I think
by moving on from a guy after 16 years.
God, I think they'd be crazy to let Mike Tomlin walk out the door. I think that they would really risk being a knock. Yeah, maybe they're stuck at 10-7 for the rest of eternity.
That's where they are now.
In that division, if they didn't have Tomlin next year, it could get bad. I mean, they could be a bad team for the first time in 30 years.
They just lost in 5 days to the 2 worst teams in the NFL.
We'll see once Kenny Pickett gets back from tightrope. Watch him. Mike Tomlin will be 500 because he always is.
Well, he is. But see, I think fans are sick of that because they're like, hey, you got this great defense. In theory, why are we 500? Yes, we know the division is really good. But this year, you've got backup quarterback in Cleveland, backup quarterback in Cincinnati. Sure, the Ravens are good. You already beat them once. I mean, this is also a division that could be ripe for the taking.
First of all, they beat a backup quarterback who turned out to be fire in Jake Browning.
Well, yes. I mean, we'll see about the Jake Browning experience. That was awesome against the Jags.
Put him in the MVP conversation. I'm ready to go.
Maybe we should see it a second time before we crown him. But that's fine. Yeah. 855-212-4CBS. I feel fed up for Steeler fans, on their behalf. John is in Western New York's. Got a thought on this? Hey, John, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. It's been a rough morning for me. My wife thinks I'm insane. My son thinks I'm insane.
Yeah.
My voice is gone because of the game last night.
No, we understand your pain.
2 things. Number one, forever and a day between Belichick and Tomlin. Belichick has always taken tight ends and abused the 3-4. Okay? I mean, we can go back to Gronkowski on a Monday Night Football catching three touchdown passes against 5'7" William Gay. And the other point I wanted to make real quick is about Trubisky.
Yeah.
He the only guy that's got a weaker arm than Trubisky in Steeler history, I think, is Duck Hodges.
Remember Duck Hodges?
If you want to talk about trying to I heard about the Patriots opening the game up. Well, you can't open the game up if you can't get the ball downfield. Yeah. And so, it's this new infatuation where if a quarterback can run with a football, well, that seems to make up for other deficits. And the problem is that what's your quarterback? Why do you have a quarterback? He's supposed to throw the ball, not run the ball. I mean, it's nice if he can, but I mean, their two biggest weapons or 3 biggest weapons are their tight end and their 2 wide receivers. And when you can't spread the defense out,
yeah,
you're causing problems.
John.
That's all I got, guys.
Yeah, no, listen, I get it. We're a safe space here. Wife doesn't understand. Kids don't understand. Perloff and I do.
I would have gone.
Pete, we get it.
We all would have gone to Mason Rudolph last night, right?
But here's the thing. Mike Tomlin's not going to react to the crowd raining boos down on Mitchell Trubisky. And I guess to their credit, you did score a touchdown in the 4th quarter. You got the 2-point conversion. You made it a field goal game. But, I mean, again, you get the ball, and Tomlin talked about this, where you get a turnover in plus territory and you go four and out, I think. I mean, boo. Just blah.
Can I get a mulligan on my Super Bowl pick because of the quarterback injury? Everyone's looking at me like, no. Oh, come on.
Not happening.
Please.
No.
You get a mulligan. It's December 8th. No shot.
I'm starting to like what I'm seeing down in Baltimore. I officially am taking the Baltimore Ravens to win the AFC.
No, you don't get a mulligan.
It's the same division. What's the difference?
It took 14 weeks to say, hey, those Ravens are pretty good.
Yeah, it's the same division. What's the difference?
That's
That's like you want to switch to the Chiefs after you pick the Broncos to win the Super Bowl. No, you don't get that redo.
John Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin, same. I think that I deserve the Chiefs. If the Ravens win, I'll take a little bit of shine there.
Okay, I had to look this up just because I was curious. So what has Duck Hodges been up to lately? Apparently, he's in a relationship with a woman named Lainey Wilson. I think she's a country music singer, and they were on the red carpet together. And according to People magazine, he's a former NFL player turned real estate agent and has been a pillar of support for Wilson as she navigates her newfound stardom in country music.
Nice.
So Duck Hodges really is being the boyfriend, the good boyfriend.
Honestly, they could have used him last night on the field.
No, they could.
I was into Duck Hodges.
You're the only one.
Honestly, anybody would have been better than Trubisky last night. Or it's the play calling. There were so many third downs where he threw it short of the sticks again. I'm like, is Matt Canada still in the building? And it does seem that caller had a good point. When Trubisky throws the ball, it looks like he has to put his whole body in to just make a 23-yard pass.
Well, yeah.
What happened to the guy who was the number 2 pick in the draft?
That guy's long gone. Sorry, this is more from this article? Yeah. This article's from like 2 weeks ago. Lainey Wilson and Duck Hodges began dating in 2021, but didn't go public with their relationship until 2 years later when he accompanied her to the ACM Awards in May of 2023. Their red carpet debut doubled as one of the night's most talked about moments. Look at Duck.
Sometimes life at the football is where it's at.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
But he might have time now because the housing market isn't really great. So,
Interest rates keep going up.
Yeah.
That is true.
What were you at the holiday party I went to last week? That's all I knew I was talking about.
That was another party.
Yeah, it was a different party.
When you talk about Mike Tomlin, it's funny, I talked earlier about their offense and kind of, again, feeling like they're behind its times and kind of how they were when they had the killer bees. I mean, from 2014 to 2018, their offensive rank in terms of total yards, 4th, 9th, 7th, 3rd, and 2nd.
Yeah.
And in 2019, which kind of became the new era, and Matt Canada came in 2020, they went 22nd, 12th, 25th, 19th, now 26th.
Yeah, listen, I mean, it's the offense, and maybe they got it wrong with Pickett. I think they also didn't have the right person to develop Pickett, and that's on everybody. Then that's on the coaches.
It's also they never got a top 10 pick. They were a little bit behind the 8 ball. They were never going to get a shot at a top quarterback.
Right,
like
you're
Trevor
not bad
Lawrence.
enough, right?
Right. So that's what some fans say. They're stuck in limbo, so they're never going to get the quarterback they need.
And decided to draft Pickett you look back at that 2020 draft. I mean,
they didn't have any other choices.
It was terrible, right? There was just nobody. This is like Malik Willis and stuff. It was a bad draft for
Matt
quarterbacks.
Corral. They didn't have any choices on quarterback.
They forced it.
So that being said, I mean, a lot of these drafts, the last few drafts, they could have ended up with Trey Lance or Zach Wilson. I mean, who knows if you have a top pick. And even this year's a good draft. It's a good quarterback draft. It's probably 6 deep in the first round. Do the Steelers make a move here? I don't think they will because we could talk about firing Mike Tomlin. We could talk about getting rid of Kenny Pickett. This is the Steelers. They're not going to do any of that.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227, just to bring this thing full circle. Duck Hodges apparently specializes in real estate of hunting camps and hunting land. That's his lane. That's like his niche. He'll help you find like a hunting lodge.
I feel like if that is what he does, I feel like you can't just say real estate expert, or whatever the article said that was talking about him. Like, it's like we think real estate expert, we think housing market, we think maybe commercial buildings, like.
Yeah, no. Hunting lodges and hunting land. Although I'm sure you can get super rich off of this. It's just he's not selling you like a condo on, Wilshire Boulevard.
Is hunting land, what is just grass and trees, I assume, right? Does that really qualify for real estate? Isn't real estate buildings? Or am I stupid?
No, I think you can do land.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
You can.
Land, you could sell land.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. I bet he's going to get rich off of this. Because think about it. It's not like you can get a small amount. Like,
That's
you're selling
true.
this, it's got to probably be in a large quantity.
Huge acres, probably.
Yeah, you can't just be like hunting on 1 acre. You could hurt somebody.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't be that close. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Okay, lots more to do, including we're going to be doing our picks a little earlier today because Perloff has something special going on.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get to that in just a minute. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Fairfield by Marriott, part of the Marriott Bonvoy portfolio of hotels, is the official hotel partner of the NCAA. With over 1,000 locations around the country, you'll always have the home field advantage. Visit fairfield.com to book your stay. This weekend on CBS, the annual showdown between Army and Navy, the 124th meeting. Army grabbed a 20-17 double OT victory in last year's encounter, and we're excited about this because our buddy doing game day, Bill Belichick.
I know, our buddy.
Son of a Navy coach. We'll be doing the guest picks for game day this weekend. It's in Foxborough.
Yep.
So I was wondering if the Patriots lost, would Belichick just quit the Patriots and join the Navy staff? I think that's his secret dream all along, is to be the Navy coach.
Yeah, Navy coach, or like go back to New York Giants defensive coordinator or
Something old school.
Yeah, back to the glory, the pre-glory days or whatever. It's an amazing game. It always is. You know, the last 2 years, actually, when we were doing the afternoon show, we got the distinct pleasure of being able to go to the sites of these games and being a part of the radio room, being part of the pageantry. Last year was in Philadelphia. So we got to also hang with your parents and everything, which was really, really cool. Brian Dawkins hanging with Carol and Tom Perloff is a sight you got to see.
But I mean, it used to be in Philadelphia every year in between Army and Navy. So I think it's probably, I love that it's in Philly. It's good that they move it around. Yeah, this is fun. Our buddy Ross Tucker will be calling the game. It's funny because we have this sort of letdown after the Florida State controversy and nothing's really happening in college football. So this will be really fun to jump in and enjoy the game.
Well, I got another thing that's going on in college football.
What's that?
Well, obviously, you mentioned the Florida State controversy. Before we had that, the team with the most controversy surrounding it was obviously Michigan Wolverines.
Yeah.
So now we're getting reports from yesterday that Jim Harbaugh is working on a lucrative contract extension to keep him in Michigan. Now, this is a potential 5-year, $55 million deal. It would make him the highest paid coach in the Big Ten and the second highest paid coach in all of college football behind Nick Saban. However, there's a caveat. The caveat is he cannot court any interest from NFL teams if he's going to sign the contract, which seems pretty obvious to me. You shouldn't sign a 5-year, $55 million deal and then also be like sniffing around the Raiders facility or whatever. Like that, I get where Michigan is coming from on this one.
Define court. It's such a funny word.
Yeah, show up to, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that...
contact, have your agent contact, I don't know.
I'm not surprised that Michigan wants him back because I think the controversy has faded dramatically. I mean, we're not talking about Connor Stallions. I actually thought you were going with Colorado as your most controversial team because this is so bizarre.
Later.
I almost forgot about Michigan's scandal. It feels like that Florida State being left out of the Final Four blew that out of the water. I mean, time moves fast around this sport, and not to mention the transfer portal has gone bananas. So I think that it's funny. Connor Stallions, that's a blast from the past. What was that, a month ago?
Yeah, he's probably like, I don't know, hiding out in Tijuana or something.
I mean, you can't be surprised that Michigan wants to keep Jim Harbaugh. Forget the scandal. They've never had this sustained success. I mean, he's clearly the best modern coach they've had.
Yeah, I would say, go back to Bush. I'm like, I mean, Lloyd Carr. I guess, I understand because he was able to continue to win. Now, he wasn't on the sidelines for the last 3 games, but if Michigan had really fallen apart, if they had lost to Ohio State, if it looked like the team was fracturing under the weight of these allegations and stuff, then I could probably be like, all right, Jim, I think it's probably run its course. Why don't we just all part ways here?
I can't. That didn't
happen.
You beat Ohio State 3 times in a row. There's not a single thing you can do to not get that job back again.
Yeah,
they beat Ohio State 3 times. They've been in the Final Four 3 years in a row.
Think about it. He wasn't on the sideline for 6 games this year.
There's no, short of a criminal scandal, there's nothing he could have done to weaken his hold on that job because he is everything they want him. All they want to do is beat Ohio State. This is a bonus that they might actually compete for the national title.
Well, it's going to be Michigan and Alabama in that first game, which is amazing. There's a lot on the line for this show particularly.
Yeah.
This will be our first show bet of 2024, which is EJ and myself against Perloff. Perloff thinks that Michigan's going to win this game, and EJ and I have to wear a wrestling singlet. Yeah. We think Michigan's going to lose, and Perloff has to wear the wrestling singlet.
We need a lot of definition here.
Yeah.
Can we find the pro wrestling singlet where you have full tights and pants into the embarrassing top, or does it have to be a high school amateur wrestling singlet? Because there's lots of singlets out there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, EJ. Like, I'm tempted to say artist choice on this one, or maybe
that's what I think.
You and I will pick out Perloff's, or Perloff would pick out yours and mine.
Well, I got to be honest. I looked online. I couldn't find the pro wrestling loser outfit. You know, the guy who's about to get killed by the superstar in the opening round.
The tomato can?
Yeah, like, yeah. And Mike James from Pensacola, Florida against The Undertaker. Oh, I wonder who's going to win this one. But I would love to see, for some reason, EJ in the full outfit. I don't want to see him in a high school wrestling singlet. I want to see you as a pro wrestling tomato can.
I mean, should I dress up as like Kurt Angle or something, like an actual wrestler who wore a singlet?
Oh yeah, Kurt Angle. Oh right,
but that's kind of
Olympics.
That's kind of rare. The former amateur wrestlers, there aren't a lot of those guys. What does Kurt Angle wear? Does he wear the short?
He wears a wrestling singlet. He has the straps over and it's full get up, and then he has like shorts cut off at the thigh.
Yeah. I mean, for some reason, I feel like I have to wear the amateur wrestling one.
But I got
to tell you, it's weird. The pants are more embarrassing. You look like a bigger loser walking around with the full pro wrestling singlet.
I beg to differ. I mean, not loser. We understand when you're actually wrestling, this is the uniform. You don't look like a loser when you're wrestling. It's just out of context. You in an office.
Yeah, and if you've checked, I mean, I don't know. I know I don't look like Bobby Lashley or Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
No, trust me.
And I don't look like Charlotte Flair. So we all got that in common.
Listen, not that I have these great legs or anything, but I'm telling you, the embarrassing part is the upper body. The lower body, it doesn't matter what I'm wearing.
We know you're not embarrassed by your legs because you wore the shortest shorts possible for your Halloween costume. You're begging for this.
I think you're making a mistake to make me wear the amateur one because those are kind of cool in a weird way. The pro wrestling ones are super goofy. And what are you going to wear?
I don't know. I mean, I think this is part of it, right? Maybe the winner picks out the outfit for the loser.
I picture you in a Jane Fonda workout singlet.
Oh, please don't do that to me.
But that's not embarrassing. Don't you wear that anyway? You basically
it's not 1984. I definitely don't.
When you're doing your VHS work-out tape in the afternoon, aren't you dressed like Jane Fonda?
No, it's like that's like the spandex that has like the weird thong like over it, like just for the fashion look. No way. With the headband, let's get physical. The music video.
If you do that, we'll all dress 80s for the day. I think we could evolve your singlet. Right? Yeah, we could evolve your singlet into a 1988 aerobics class. It'd be amazing.
Well, it's funny
the Reebok high tops with the scrunchy socks. Oh,
I think we need to do this video anyway. Where Maggie is Jane Fonda and we're the guys behind wearing headbands and cut off sweatshirts. And
everyone's lifting 3-pound weights.
You're always doing a move where you're stepping to the right and stepping to the left and clapping. This would be amazing.
Have to be involved, by the way.
Yes, the leg warmer
has to be.
EJ in the 80s headband outfit would be awesome.
Billy
and
Blank.
Bilotti, oh my God, I would pay so much to see that.
I would too.
Bogusch feels like he probably does wear that 80s workout outfit on occasion.
Every other day when I work out, when I do cardio, yeah.
I think that this could have been a Bogusch and Mrs. Bogusch, Halloween costume at some point.
We've done...
You've done a couple Halloween
We
costumes.
have. We have not done this. We've done Jay and Silent Bob. We did
That's cool.
Sajak and Vanna White. We did... Why can't I think of the movie with Tom Hanks, the basement with Tom Hanks and Gina Davis?
League of Their Own.
We've done that, but let me put this one down. 80s workout, like Ken and Barbie workout outfits.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, this just really took a turn. This is not what the bet was.
Well, honestly, if I lose the bet, if Michigan loses to Alabama, then we're set. But I think EJ wearing a singlet's great. You wearing a singlet, I think we need to do more. I think you need to pay a steeper price.
Thing up.
I think you need to pay a deeper price than just wearing a singlet.
Well, I will say there aren't too many female pro wrestlers that really wear singlets, except for one right now, Maxine Dupree from WWE. She's taken the singlet and tried to sexy it up, so to speak.
Yeah, right.
So I'm actually curious if there was a way we could kind of take some inspiration from Maxine Dupree and bring it to Maggie, if indeed Michigan finds a way to
Whoa.
win.
So here's the thing. I never thought this was supposed to be a sexy thing. I thought I was also supposed to look like the wrestling singlet person.
1988 Jane Fonda is not sexy, Maggie. It's embarrassing.
She's wearing sequins. She looks amazing. She married Ted Turner.
She's
You
got
don't
leg
think that's
warmers up
sexy?
to her thighs. That is not sexy.
It was then.
Then she was amazing.
Yeah.
No, my
was
At
point
one
is,
point, showing your ankles was sexy.
EJ and I are going to have to be half naked. You get to wear this full workout outfit from Lululemon. You're basically wear that to the gym anyway.
I definitely don't, because we are at one perk of this job is the free T-shirts that we get. It's just part of it. Like, people just send us stuff, and so I am the person wearing the double XL random Arkansas Razorback T-shirt to the gym with like my Umbros.
No, I'm always wearing the 2018 MLB Network covers of the World Series T-shirt. MLB Network or Old Spice. That's 70% of my wardrobe at home.
MLB Network All-Star Game T-shirt.
Oh,
Thank you.
That's my dad's Christmas present 17 years in a row.
Does he know you're getting it for free?
Probably. I just Googled Maxine Dupree, EJ.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't look like her.
That young lady needs to put some clothes on.
No, I'm saying we could find some inspiration from that. Because before that, I had never seen a female wrestler in the last 20 years try to work a singlet.
No.
So I was wondering how we were going to make this even work.
I think the last time someone wore a singlet was Moolah.
Yeah, Fabulous Moolah, exactly.
The Fabulous Moolah.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That's old school. You guys remember her? She was easily 45 years old trying to win the belt.
She could beat up men.
Remember Wendy Richter? You guys probably don't remember that.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, she was the first female star ever, right?
Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah, she was with Cyndi Lauper and Captain Lou and Hulk Hogan.
I wonder about this for Cyndi Lauper. I've always wondered about this. Like, what talent agent or whatever was like, this is your lane. She was at the height of her stardom then when she was wrestling WWF, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was everybody's lane back then.
Well, I think it all started when she did the video with Lou Albano, where she did Girls Want to Have Fun, and then I think it spiraled into doing the Rock and Wrestling Connection.
Got it.
I mean, I think it's always really a good idea to get involved with pro wrestling for any kind of celebrity or athlete. It usually works out well,
But
right?
like at that time, for a woman who was at the height of her powers, like Taylor Swift's not going to do Raw.
Well, I mean, the NFL is step one, step two.
SmackDown on Friday night.
See the tribal chief gets a divorce and he needs some bump. You never know.
Here comes Taylor Swift and the Swifties.
If it's all fake and she wants to sell tickets, showing up on Raw is a great idea.
Start her in NXT and then she'll work her way up like everyone else.
Someone in the Taylor Swift company just said, "Ooh, we just heard a great idea on CBS Sports Radio." A new audience.
Yeah. Andrew Bogusch is here with headlines.
I have a lot of Maxine Dupree questions. Who do I direct those to? Pete?
Sure.
What's a valet? Does she walk you to the ring?
It's an old school term for female manager.
Okay. And why does she need two X's in her name?
Well,
I have no idea.
Isn't 3 the magic number? Okay.
I think 3 is probably taken by somebody on some other website.
Right. Yeah, three means is a lot more.
And then her real last name has 2 Z's but only 1 vowel. It's Zimmerzel. This is the greatest I've ever seen. Zmrzel. I want that to be my last name.
Well, I mean, they want to market it and they want to own the rights. That's why it's not the real person's name.
Yeah.
All right. And she just walks folks to the ring? That's a job?
Oh, she doesn't wrestle?
She wrestles a little bit now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for a while she only was a valet, but she's recently been getting in the ring, and that's where the wrestling singlet came in.
Yeah.
Before her gimmick was she was a model, and now she's like, I'm learning to be a wrestler, and she's wearing this amateur singlet, but she's found a way to get in.
But I can't watch Bravo shows.
Shame
on me for Below Deck.
I'm going to go with Perloff here. I'm going to go with Perloff here. Calling what she's wearing a singlet is a real stretch.
Yeah.
It's what she said.
It's lingerie.
It's material that's covering barely.
Yeah, Maggie, you don't have to wear this outfit.
There's no chance I'm going to wear this outfit.
I mean,
EJ.
It is a singlet.
I would get fired immediately. They would valet my ass right out the door. There's no shot I can show up in something like this to this place of business that we were.
This place, a normal place of business, yes. This place,
And I'm sitting there with Allie in the back. She's doing my makeup. We're talking about dropping our kids off at preschool. Like nothing's changed, and I'm half naked. No.
As a producer of the show, I'm more concerned about the F-bombs that may get dropped by Maggie on the show. What repercussions come with a singlet.
And the other thing is, this is not half naked. This is 3/4 naked.
Yes, you're right about that.
No, you don't have to wear that Maxine Dupree
Thanks.
thing.
All right, let's get serious for a second, guys.
Good luck.
Maybe you're homeless. Maybe you can't find a man. Maybe you're spending too much time on social media. We now know whom to blame. It's people like my boy Nick Costos from BetQL. It's FanDuel. It's parlays. This was economist Meredith Whitney on CNBC earlier this week.
63% of young men are single, and that's the highest it's ever been. And 50% of those young men have no interest in dating, not even casually. And 30% of those men, or 30% of young men, say they have not had sex in over a year and don't seem to care. So the point being,
they're getting pleasure out of sports betting instead.
Sports betting now through technology is as easy as buying something, ordering a pizza online, or shopping online.
If I may sum that all up, men like
numbers there.
Gambling on sports more than they like ladies, which means no nookie, no marriage, no home buying. So the real estate market's about to suffer.
That's why it's suffering.
Yeah, she also says the amount of time that you women, Maggie, spend on Instagram and TikTok at Taylor Swift concerts. That's a problem that needs addressing as well.
Well,
I'm glad this is settled and being said publicly.
On CNBC, nonetheless.
Well, it's good because I was going to stop scrolling on Instagram and just develop a really bad gambling addiction. And I was planning to do that actually in 2024 as my new resolution.
I can't buy an overpriced house. I'm gambling too much. Come on.
Wait, how much time can you actually spend at Taylor Swift concerts? I mean, that's 3.5 hours. By the way, this does explain one thing, though.
Okay.
In high school, I had a bookie, made a lot of sports bets.
So that's why you weren't getting any action?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Yes, she directed the male virginity issue. That's why I was like, yeah, she might be onto something because
that's a little revisionist history here.
I was betting Duquesne St. Joe's and not getting any action.
That was before mobile betting. I mean, if you had mobile betting, you may have never gotten married or had a family.
Yeah. If mobile betting was around, I'd be a monk.
That's a great first date, QTB.
Maxine Dupree's dancing around you in her singlet. And you're
like, no.
I got the second
I got the under on the Browns game. Not tonight, honey.
Oilers are playing tonight. Come on, get out of here.
You gotta go see Tommy Knuckles for your bet, so there's no dating.
Oh, it's an NBA triple header. Let's go. There's Marvin Matt Gukas.
Matt Gukas will always
Former
be funny.
Sixer Matt Gukas. Love Matt Gukas.
Meanwhile, Matt Gukas is probably getting tons of action because he wasn't busy on the gambling sites. I don't know. So here's the question. Take out the gambling part of this.
Yeah.
It's kind of an alarming statistic, no, about men. Do you think this is possibly true?
Wait, do you believe those statistics?
It was on TV.
It's on TV.
What was the number again?
It was 30% of young men haven't had sex in a year and are not bothered by that.
And they're not married.
That sounds completely made up.
I think they would definitely be bothered
First
by
of all,
it.
what kind of man would answer a survey saying, no, I haven't got any action in a year?
Yeah,
That's
lie.
a must-lie situation. That
So the
number
number's
cannot
probably more like
possibly...
50.
It's anonymous. You never know.
It's like the number must be higher, though. I agree with Perloff. People probably lie on that.
Talking about polling, I mean...
Whoa. Are you leaving now?
And see ya.
Well, listen. Let's get back to Maxine Dupree.
She's part of the solution.
That's right.
More wrestling, maybe they would solve the problems.
This is kind of alarming. Is this something where people are just so into their whole lives are online that they're feeling satisfied, whatever that means, whether it's dopamine hits from gambling, whether it's,
TikTok
explicit content that maybe is replacing actual human contact.
Maxine Dupree
out here wearing no clothes.
Well, I think I understand what you're getting at with the
like
explicit
an isolation.
But I just think the dopamine hits you get from social media are bad too. But this is you can't point to sports gambling because there's a million ways to distract yourself now, and I don't think that no one's out there hooking up because of Tinder and all these websites. It's not that hard these days.
I just wonder if it's like an all or nothing thing, right? It's like either you are on these like Tinder sites and it comes easy for you and you can be on these dating sites and having lots of dates. And for some people, like online dating just doesn't work for them. It's not, it's not conducive. And I think in this day and age, if you can't online date, I think you're probably at a pretty big disadvantage trying to find a partner, no?
I mean, I would be screwed.
I think
if
about
I
that
was
with myself.
Single right now. I'd have no chance.
Why,
to
you don't
wait.
have a good profile?
Not even a little bit. I couldn't handle like waiting for people to write back or like seeing somebody not out with me on Instagram. There's no
jealousy.
Oh,
Yeah, sure.
that's
no
a
chance.
big thing.
Or just like people can ghost each other. There's like no accountability. I mean, listen, that existed when we were dating without people disappeared on me without a Bumble.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, you didn't have to like be Houdini to, ghost somebody even back in the day.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think it is more challenging.
That woman, there's no way those numbers are accurate. And that, I understand there are real concerns with sports gambling, but I mean, male virginity has been an issue in high school for many men for many, many years. It's not because of sports gambling.
It's funny. We were thinking about a nonprofit.
I'm also a client.
I'm the president of the organization, actually.
I would have easily put down the gambling. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it wasn't one or the other. It's because I didn't have the first one, so I had to gamble.
It's funny that we were thinking about, as we're doing our push here for holiday giving, right? Where you and I and Spike is generously.
I have no idea where you're going right now, but please.
We're giving to charity in if you subscribe to our YouTube or Twitch channel, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio, for every new subscriber, we're giving $1 to charity. And we were thinking, which charity are we going to give it to? And you make it seem like male virginity is like a nonprofit that needs to have like a task force, a board.
Get a hotline ready. 1-800.
The Andrew Perloff Home for dudes that can't get laid.
If you're raising money,
The hotline's just like
I think you're getting
breathing
into
heavy.
You're getting into quasi-legal areas. If you're raising money to help these young men, like, does that mean you're paying for this?
Sure seems like it.
It's like that's an episode of Seinfeld where Jerry starts sleeping with his maid, and he's like, "What are you paying for?" Your job.
Yeah, I don't know where this money is going to. Is it to get the guys better outfits or something, or is it going directly? Is it direct to consumer?
Yeah.
It's like we have like Queer Eye. We have those shows that kind of try to drudge up these guys. I think that would be the process. Like, hey, let's get a haircut. Let's
wipe the crust out your eyes.
There you go.
Get some floss.
Yeah, let's get some button downs.
Yeah.
Try not to be 6'4" and 130 pounds like Andrew Perloff in 10th grade. That would help.
Maybe you should have been wearing that wrestling singlet.
Let's watch some Maxine Dupree. Let's go. This is what's out there.
Everyone gets a card for being in this club too, and it has your face on it.
Yeah. Like a virgin card. That's show it 6 times at the door.
Punch card.
You guys are dredging up a lot of painful memories.
See, the thing
Actually, it's a lack of good memories that's really you're dredging up.
10 punches, you get a date.
the problem with Maxine Dupree, she doesn't have a problem. She's fine. But that's also can't be the standard. If it's not Maxine Dupree, then I don't want any part of it. Because I'm telling you, that's not real life either.
I know. That's probably an issue, too.
There's part of that. That's not her fault, by the way, at all.
You're right. I mean, I was a little bit before online dating blew up. It used to be, you have 9 beers and everyone's attractive. That was how it worked back in the day. Now you can actually see the people in the light of day. That's not good. It's not how it's supposed to work.
I love it that you think the photos people put on dating profiles are real.
Oh my gosh, we get into conversation about that. Just the amount of catfish out there.
What's
crazy because I was not just, but 7 years ago I was in this field. I was out in these streets. And the amount of dating profiles I saw, and maybe I'm crazy or whatever, but like, you're on Instagram, you know what Instagram models look like. In fact, you can kind of identify them. The fact that I saw so many pictures on there that were clearly Instagram models that I follow. Yeah. So I'm like, that's
not you
from Miami. I know that's not you. Like how? Like do you not think that everyone else has Instagram? Like what's?
It's like that's Zion Williamson's baby's mom. That is not you.
Right. EJ, what's your IG feed like?
He's a male. He's getting fed the algorithm.
Right, exactly. It's sending me what they think I want to see, I guess.
Yeah, they were right.
Accurate.
Maxine Dupree, apparently.
Yeah. Just one of the many. Funny that she was not also your Thursday date to meet for beers and pizza. It's odd how that worked out. 855-212-4CBS.
The Patriots won last night. So did the Pacers and the Lakers.
Equally as shocking as 30% of young men haven't had sex in a year and don't care about it. Equally as shocking. 855-212-4227. Thank you, Perloff. Thank you to that. Who was it? An economist who said that on CNBC?
Yeah, Meredith Whitney.
Yep.
Whitney Meredith. Burgess Meredith? Somebody, I don't know.
All the economy problems we're having now, and that's the topic of discussion on CNBC.
Where's Biden to address this? Jessica Yellen, is she someone?
9 p.m. address tomorrow.
Is it a Janet Yellen?
Janet Yellen, thank you. Who did I say? Jessica?
That's her hot daughter.
Christian Yelich?
It's
That's
Christian
Maxine
Yellen.
Dupree's tag team partner.
855-212-4CBS. That all just happened.
I think we desperately need to break, Maggie.
Yes, hey, we're making our NFL picks next. Can't wait to do that. We're just part of the problem. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
still digging myself out of a big hole. You are 21-18. You went 1-2 last week.
Tough week.
How we do this on Maggie and Perloff, 1 over/under, 1 against the spread, and 1 player prop. Since you are in first place, why don't you get us going?
Oh, jeez. Okay, I'm going to start with my pick, and I'm going with the Jacksonville Jaguars with quarterback unknown at the Cleveland Browns. Now, this was supposed to be a huge weather game. Jags get 3.5 points. And I think that's because they don't know who's playing quarterback, because C.J. Beathard is now on the injury report. I just feel like the Jags have a degree of desperation here against Cleveland. I think they find a way to at least keep this game close. Because here's the other thing. If it's raining, they probably go with Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He's not going to win you. And if it's dry, they go with Joe Flacco, Cleveland that is, and he's not going to win the game. I think the Jags find a way, even if Trevor Lawrence isn't there, to keep it close.
Okay. Tough. These games are tough. With all the injuries, it is really hard. So I'm going to go with what I know, right?
Yeah.
What I think is a sure thing. It's a big number, but I feel comfortable with it. The San Francisco 49ers laying 11. Now, it's a lot. It's a lot against Seattle. But these games haven't been competitive, and I think the 49ers are the best team in the NFL. I'm hoping that there's not a little bit of a letdown because they just beat up on your Philadelphia Eagles, but it's a division game. San Francisco, I think they're just rolling. So big number, but I'm going to lay the 11. They're at home.
Okay, I love that. Yeah, I mean, I don't see how anyone's stopping the Niners. But, okay, my over-under. This is tough because this is a weather game. And I get nervous about these weather games. But how are the Rams and Ravens at 40? I think that Lamar Jackson is on fire right now. I saw a report. They have less injuries than any team in the NFL. Baltimore does. That is the opposite of what you're used to with Baltimore.
Yep.
I think Lamar Jackson is going to put on display. I think the Ravens win big here. Stafford has been pretty good, actually, so maybe their offense moves a little bit. If there is weather gives a pass here, I think this game goes over 40.
Okay, I'm going to go with an under, and I'm going to go to Monday night. We got a Monday night doubleheader for some reason.
Weird.
Is there a reason for this? I don't know. Give me the Packers and the Giants under 36.5. Supposed to be a lot of weather in this game. Bad weather in New York on Monday. And outside of that game against the Commanders, where they won 31-19, like this has just not been a very good offense. And you still have Tommy DeVito who's starting. So I think the Packers will be able to win this. They're 6.5-point favorite on the road. I just don't see this getting to 36.5. I don't see it.
First of all, bummed out. How much rain are we getting? This Sunday's supposed to be terrible. Okay.
Okay.
Player prop. My player prop. So the big story this week, Austin Eckler in L.A. is not the man of choice for the Chargers, but his running total is still at 49.5.
Yeah.
I'm going to go under on that, but I am a little nervous that Coach Brandon Staley was just trying to inspire Austin Eckler, who's not really, he's a great running back. I think he's been hurt all year because I'm a huge Austin Eckler fan, but he has not been producing, but I'm taking an easy one under 49.5, I hope.
Under for Austin Eckler, 49.5.
Yes. I never go under on this prop. Don't we always go over?
Yeah,
it's no fun to root for an under prop, but go ahead.
Well, I am taking an over, and I'm going to your game, which is the Cowboys and Philadelphia Eagles. I think this is a winner of this game, probably goes into first place in the MVP voting. I think that's important. Give me Dak Prescott over 2.5 passing touchdowns. Now, he burned me on this on an earlier bet.
Yeah.
Did not get, it was like over 1.5 or something. This is over 2.5 and 3 passing touchdowns for Dak Prescott. I think that they're going to try to really pour it on. And the Eagles' defense is just not that great.
Not at all. I actually looked at it. There's an interesting one. Dak Prescott, 3.5 carries. I was going to go over on that because he's going to sell out. But when they're blowing people out, Dak stops running. And this, don't quote me, this could be a non-competitive. It could be.
No.
It could be.
No, not after what happened last week. Okay, so that's your Maggie and Perloff Week 14 NFL picks. We've got a lot to do, including our celebrity NFL game picker joining us early. She's going to be here next. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
She was the Heisman Trophy winner in 1986. He left her off the ballot. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Friday. Made it to the end of the week. We did it, everybody. And, well, the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's going to be a long weekend because if you're going back to watch that tape, I mean, you thought the fans were booing badly last night. I would boo myself if I was watching that tape and I was a member of the Steelers.
It's funny. We had people say last week was the game they blow every year.
Yeah.
And now it's 2 weeks in a row.
5 days in between the Steelers having unfathomable losses to two-win teams. Like, that does not happen to this franchise.
I know it doesn't follow logically, but this is because of the Kenny Pickett injury. And I'm saying Kenny Pickett, untethered from the fired offensive coordinator Matt Canada, is actually a decent quarterback. Mitchell Trubisky is not. Okay. I don't know why Trubisky's so bad, but I put this clearly on the quarterback situation.
Okay, but you make it seem like the fall from Kenny Pickett to Mitchell Trubisky is like this tumble down.
It is.
It's not. Kenny Pickett
is for inexplicable reasons. Mitchell Trubisky cannot move the football.
I don't get it either, but it's not like Kenny Pickett is this gangbusters quarterback. It's not like, oh man, you know, we had Patrick Mahomes out there and now we've got Perloff. Like, it just is not that big of a drop.
There was something happening. When they fired Canada, things were starting to go well. Mm-hmm. And when Pickett got hurt, you could see even TJ Watt looked depressed. I think that the team knows that Trubisky is not the answer. I thought they should have gone to Mason Rudolph last night. They're still probably, ironically, going to be in the playoff hunt, but they're a very bad team right now.
They are not good. And listen, here's the thing about the Pittsburgh Steelers. We almost take it as like gospel, or that, you know, it's like Mike Tomlin got a job and he's a Supreme Court judge. Like, it's an appointment for life. And you can never have any criticism.
Yeah, how about a losing season? What are you talking about? Of course, there's a reason. It's not a judge. He's won football games.
Okay, but here's the thing, right? And I think fans who have had teams that have been close, but maybe things have gotten stale, or you can see, you know, where there have been cracks and maybe a reinvention is necessary or something like that. Because you can't be fooled by a mediocre season and think to yourself everything's fixed. Right? Just because you didn't bottom out and win one game doesn't necessarily mean the coach has to be fired. And I would say on the flip side, there are times when coaches only win 2 or 3 games and teams fire them, and maybe they should have stuck with them. Like, it's not perfect. Just because you have a winning season or you don't have a losing record doesn't mean it's not time for a coaching change.
Oh my gosh, this is the Pittsburgh Steelers. All they've done is won for decades because they don't fire their coaches. Now we're going to become the Carolina Panthers. And by the way, all that being said, the team that had the worst night was on the other side of the ball because the New England Patriots had an ill-advised win, Maggie.
I know. This is the worst thing that could possibly happen, which means our guest is going to be extremely happy about this. You guys know on Fridays, we ask celebrities to come on the show and pick NFL games for us. We're doing a little early this morning, so we appreciate her getting up early for us. Sarah Tiana, comedian, and we've never met, but you're my spirit animal. You don't know that, but you are. Sarah, thank you so much for being on the show. We love your comedy, and we know that you love a good Patriots loss.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing better. I mean, I would cheer for Al-Qaeda before the Patriots, but it's just, I mean, yeah, I don't know about that game last night. It was a really interesting watch. And in my house, you know, my husband is a big Patriots fan, so he was just as devastated as I was elated.
He was devastated because the Patriots won.
Yeah, he wanted them to, you know, get a better draft pick. He thinks he's going to get Caleb Williams. So,
by the way,
whatever.
I can't picture.
Good luck to him.
And you know, this Caleb Williams, a USC quarterback. For some reason, envisioning him in cold, rainy Foxborough, New England, does not work for me.
Yeah, I know. But he is a crier, so I'd love to see somebody on the Patriots cry a lot. That would make me also really happy. You know what I mean? Just like crying to his mama, which I actually love about him as a mama. I'm like, yes, you just come straight to me after the game. Cry on my shoulder.
Sarah Tiana is joining us, comedian, amazing. Not just your Comedy Central specials, which are so funny. I love 44. I mean, it's so good. But also all the roast battles that you've been a part of, just epic. You're from Georgia. We're on in Atlanta right now. We're actually on in a lot of places in Georgia. People may not know this about you because it's a little more behind the scenes, but you've written for the ESPYs. And you've written for Snoop Dogg and Kevin Hart when they did Olympic highlights, which is just a phenomenal thing to have on your resume. when it comes to the ESPYs, like which athletes did you work with? Who was funny? Who didn't get it? Like spill all the tea for us.
Oh man. Oh man, I don't know if I could spill all the tea. I guess I think Steph Curry, honestly, this last year was really, really fun. He was really game to do anything that we said, and when it comes to the ESPYs, they are owned by Disney. So it's kind of the hardest show to write jokes for because so many of them, get nixed and it's difficult. And it is an all ages show. So you have to make sure that your language is not like the roast. But on the roast, for the Rob Lowe roast, I did get to work with Peyton Manning. He was who I was in charge of because out of the 16 writers in the room, I was the only one that knew anything about football. Also the only woman in the room. So that's always interesting. But yeah, I mean, I wrote his joke about, I'm not the only athlete here just this year, and Coulter won the Kentucky Derby. So like, that was like, really fun joke and for him. And yeah, I don't know. I think most athletes are funnier than we give them credit for. Some of them, can't read your hat, but most of them are really, really funny.
Are any of them funny enough to be real comedians? I know Blake Griffin has done a lot of comedy. Could you see any of these guys sort of infringing on your territory?
I could see Jason Kelce doing that for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's got it, and he's got a natural charisma, which on stage you just have to be, a storyteller and able to be vulnerable and talk about yourself. And I think those guys have proven time and time again that is easy. And I know that Travis has a really great sense of humor too. I don't see him doing stand-up, as I've hung out with him a lot in Kansas City because I do this big charity event there called Big Slick, and went to a bull riding bar with him and Patrick and Brittany and after Big Slick this year. And that's something those are hours that I can never get back. Those are hours that I'll always be embarrassed about.
Sarah, Sarah, I'm having trouble convincing Maggie that the relationship is real with Travis and Taylor. Can you just break it down for her? This is love.
Oh, I think it's very real. And this is because she, as a comedian, I know how hard it is to date men because men are constantly intimidated by the fact that, they like to be taller, they like to be stronger, they like to make more money, and they like to be the funny one. And I usually take a lot of those things away. At least one, two, if you drive for Uber, so like, I totally get it. And I think for her, it's very difficult to meet men. And especially if a man reaches out and is the aggressor, and he's also the first man that she's ever really dated, like the first guy that could probably pick her up. So I think as women, it's nice to know that somebody could lift you up and do the dirty dancing move if you wanted them to. They don't have to, but if you want them to, I think it's, fun. I think it's very real.
Sarah Tiana is our guest. She's a comedian. Tour dates right now. You're in Atlanta, right? Are you doing shows? Yeah. I don't know how you do 3 shows in a night. That's incredible. But you could go to Sarah's website. You get all the information there. So you said there were hours you can't get back because you were hanging out with Brittany and Patrick Mahomes. Like, here's the thing. We see Brittany with Taylor, and they look like really good friends. But we also see Brittany has been a little bit of a punchline to sports fans. What's she really like?
Oh, she has a very good sense of humor. She's really funny. I was like, oh, I follow you on Instagram. I'm a big fan. And she was like very cautious at first. And then I did jokes about Patrick and Travis on stage because they were wearing shirts that were very similar. And I was like, oh, Patrick's in Dior. And I think Travis is in Forever 21. Like it was, they looked so ridiculous. And then afterwards she just said, oh my God, you are so funny. You're my, such a good comedian. And like, we have to be friends. And she just like took my phone and put her number in and was like, she has a good sense of humor. I really judge people by how adaptable they are when you make jokes about them or their family. And, if you could take a joke about yourself, you can probably take all the criticism that's being handed to you on a daily basis.
We're talking to Sarah Tiana, comedian, partner of a Patriots fan. And I know you're... Chris Brockman, a good friend of mine who's been on the show, is still crying because the Patriots are not tanking. But we have a real issue here that is near and dear to your household because I know Chris has made a wager in his day There is a report yesterday on CNBC from an expert that the spike in sports gambling is causing a lot of problems, including more male virginity and a looming housing crisis because young men are not buying houses and they're not getting any action.
Yes.
Now, from your
30%
experience,
of young people young men have not had sex in a year, according to this data, and don't care about it.
Is that
sounds
true?
Like they're getting it sounds like they're getting their action elsewhere from their bookie. You know what I mean? Like that's where you're getting your real action is on the money line. But I don't know. I can't imagine that is a true statement. I think if you're not having sex, it's probably from other issues and not you're gambling.
I understand, but Sarah, listen, I was a very avid sports gambler in high school, and I was not getting very lucky. And now it all makes sense. At the time, I couldn't understand it. So if you're a woman in a bar and a guy's bragging about his bet on the Browns under, is that interesting?
No, I guess that's not very interesting. You know, I think any talk about math on a date not always interesting, you know? And the fact, if you're talking about losing money on a date when you're supposed to be buying me dinner, probably also not a good start.
But you're a huge sports fan. I would be on a date and I would bring up analytics and VORP and all that stuff. No, that would work on you probably, ironically.
Only probably in baseball, probably not as much in football, just because I'm such a baseball nerd and I do love analytics in baseball, which is really all baseball is anymore. But yeah, I mean, that would probably work on me a little bit. But I'm different, you know? I'm different.
Sarah Tiana, before we have you make picks for us, which is why we brought you here, 13 different tours that you've done for the troops, you know, gone overseas. This is really important for you, and it's really amazing. You know, how are those shows different than like what you're doing tonight and tomorrow night, doing 5 shows in 2 nights in a comedy club in Atlanta? How are those overseas shows for the troops different?
Those shows are a little bit more stressful because they matter. Like if I have a bad show at the Punchline tonight in Atlanta, 2 shows Friday, 3 shows Saturday, then who cares? Like I would just have another show later and I'll just make it up to that crowd in a different way. But with the troops, with soldiers and Marines, you have one show, and this is the only 30 minutes that they have off, or an hour that they have off in the middle of a war zone on a day when that's so monotonous that they just like need a break. So it matters a little bit more. The stakes are a little bit higher because you just don't want to fail in front of these people. Like you just want to give them the best show that they've had all day and take their mind off of everything. So bombing in a place that's already getting bombed is, not ideal. But yeah, I mean, I went to Iraq in 2005. Saddam was still alive when I was out there. Like that's how long I've been doing those tours.
It's incredible.
That's how old I am.
Are the audiences usually ready to laugh, even though it's obviously a very serious place?
Yes. I mean, that's how those guys survive on a daily basis. And I was always going on, just by keeping it light amongst themselves. And that's why I think it's important to do jokes about them as well. Not just, you don't want to just do shows for the troops. You like to do shows about them. So the more material that you have, I remember I would always open saying like, my dad was really nervous about me coming to Iraq, but he'd say, Sarah, what do you want to get out of it? And I'd go, oh, Dad, at least a lieutenant, or a really big private, that I don't really know what that means. So they love material about them. And then I would try to write material about things that I saw around the base that day. So it matters. It's important.
Really, really cool thing you're doing. Sarah Tiana's here. We've brought her here to pick NFL games for us. And to be honest, Sarah, you're like the one guest who actually knows anything about football out of all the celebrities that we've had on.
No.
So let's get to it.
Time for Celebrity Picks.
All right, Sarah, we're making a few more virgins out here. Do you want to pick against the spread, or would you like to pick straight up artist choice?
Oh, I can pick against the spread, sure.
Look at you. See, this is what we need. Celebrities who really know what they're talking about. So let's get to it. We'll start off here with the Colts at the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are a 1.5-point favorite.
This is tough because the Colts are on a 4-game winning streak, and I do think that Steichen is a really good coach and a dark horse candidate for Coach of the Year. I think that's also why Philly is struggling this year with the loss of Gannon and Steichen to me. But I'm going to take the Bengals because I do believe in the Jake Browning effect, and they're at home, so I always give them 3 points at home.
There you go. Love it. That was more well thought out than the picks we just made. The LA Rams are at the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are a 7.5-point favorite.
So I'll take the Rams on this because I do think it's going to be a 1-touchdown game. I do think the Ravens win, but I think the Rams are more fun than I expected them to be this year, and I think that's the Puka Nacua effect. But I don't know what it is. Like, the Ravens just feel so boring to me, but I don't really watch them play enough, and I think that's just because they've just been walking through wins, like it just almost easily. So I'll take the Rams as a touchdown favorite. They'll probably win by 6 or 7.
Okay, there you go. You like the Rams plus the 7.5. How about the Jags at the Browns? Browns are a 3-point favorite.
So that means it's going to be 3-0. Like, this game is what a snooze fest. Everybody's hurt in both of these games. Yep. I'll take the Browns as a 3-point favorite. I just don't know what Beathard's going to be able to do with the Jaguars.
What about the Bills are at the Chiefs? The Chiefs, a 1.5-point favorite.
I'm going to take the Bills in this one just because they're less beat up. They do allow a lot of points. Their defense does tend to allow a lot of points, but the Chiefs haven't exactly been throwing up crazy numbers this year. So I'm going to take the Bills in a revenge game win.
And finally, what could be many people are calling the game of the weekend, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles at the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys are a 3.5-point favorite.
Be careful here, Sarah. I am a diehard Eagles fan, and I'm going to judge you on this pick.
Yeah, I mean, all diehard Eagles fans are obnoxious and awful. You guys are the new Patriots fans. Yeah, I think people are actively rooting against you constantly. And as a Braves fan, I can never pick a Philadelphia team, so I'm going to take the Cowboys minus 3.5. I think the Eagles struggle against good defenses. I think that's been proven all year. And again, they're missing Gannon. So I would say I'm going to take the Cowboys minus 3.5.
How did that policy of not picking Philly teams in baseball work out for you last year against the Braves, Sarah? Just curious.
How did it work out for you? Because when we went to the World Series, we won.
You don't mess with the roast master with Sarah Tiana. Sarah, we didn't even get a chance to talk about Georgia maybe getting snubbed here for college football playoff.
Oh, I actually don't find that. I don't feel like we were snubbed, and I think the only people upset about FSU not getting in are FSU fans and Michigan fans, and they're trying to make it feel like, oh, we're just like on Florida State's side. Like, no, you're not. You would have lost to Georgia or Alabama. You did those beat Georgia practices all year, which you should have probably been doing beat Alabama practices because Georgia shouldn't have been ranked number 1 going into the season with all the players that we lost. I'd rather come back. I'd rather go to the college football playoff when I know we're going to win. I knew we weren't going to win with half of Bowers, half of McConkey, no Dumas Johnson. And Carson Beck's coming back next year, and he's going to win the Heisman. So I'd rather be good next year.
Wow. Can we just book you as a regular guest to come on and talk about sports? Does it have to analyst. Be under the guise of this celebrity picks thing? Just come talk sports with us.
You know, she's great, but she is a Braves fan. And Maggie's a Mets fan, and I'm a Phillies fan. Yes. So this is awkward.
No, this is, well.
Well, it's awkward, but we'll just see how it plays out. You know, you guys, the Mets just got Acuna's little brother. He's going to be great. So I think when Acuna's contract is up, he'll probably go to the Mets because we never give anybody their second contract. We only give you your first. And so actually, he'll probably go play with his brother.
The Mets only give people the second contract, but actually more like the third or the fourth. We want people right as they're about to just fall off a cliff and get fat and bloated. That's when they're right perfect for us at the Mets. Sarah Tiana, you got to check out.
I know. Sorry, my son is photobombing.
There we go.
And there's my dad.
Wait, Sarah, is he being raised a Patriots fan or an Atlanta fan?
He can make his own choices.
Wow.
But I mean, you know, he can decide whether he wants to live inside the house or outside the house.
So the Browns it is. Thank you again, Sarah. Best of luck with the shows tonight, tomorrow, the Punchline in Atlanta, and for all of Sarah's tour dates, her merch. Go to her website and thanks for all the laughs. Really, you're my spirit animal, so thank you.
Yeah.
Thank y'all so much. It was an honor.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Sarah Tiana.
Bye.
She knows what she's talking about.
Yeah, a couple of comments there. The Eagles are struggling without Shane Steichen. Whatever. The game,
100%
they're 10-2,
true.
Maggie. They're 10-2.
Yeah, how's the offense looking?
The offense is fine. It's the defense. It's really Jonathan Gannon we miss, it turns out.
I think you miss both guys. You had two people outside the facility the other day holding up a sign that said, "Run the ball." Do you want to explain where you're going
Is it top secret? Am I allowed? I have to leave to serve my duty as a juror. Jury duty, baby.
Perloff's got to go. This is it.
He said serve his time. Like he's so brave.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Perloff,
service.
For your service.
Well, I'm doing I don't want to give out too many details, but I have the federal court in Brooklyn. Actually, I don't know if it's federal court, but I'm going to have some real scary people in front of me in the next couple days.
Perloff is worried that there's going to be mobsters that are being brought again and
Listen.
for grand jury stuff, and they're going to find out where he lives.
The second El Chapo walks in front of me, I'm running.
Here's the thing. You're the last person that they'd want to mess with. We'll notice if you're gone.
That is true.
Your name's on the show.
But don't you guys get nervous as jurors that you're going to get the wrong guy? Because I've seen so many true crime documentaries where they get to a juror. They're like,
oh my gosh, what are you watching?
What dirt do they have on you?
Yeah, I just watched a John Gotti movie the other day. They got to every single juror every time, and that's the exact court I'm going to.
I know, but you don't have anything like that. You don't have anything that they could blackmail you with, as far as we know.
I have 2 children. What do you think they're saying to the jurors?
I always thought it was something to expose you, like because you're having an affair or something like that.
No,
you're fine.
It's not that. It's your life. And you should have seen when El Chapo, everybody in the whole district was nervous. Nobody wanted to be on that jury either.
Yeah, that's not fair.
I don't know. I don't want to do anything with a cartel. Nothing. Right. I've seen too many movies. I know where this can go, Maggie.
If you start coming in and putting heavy money on like the Indianapolis Colts or something, we're going to know something.
I do not want to see a horse head in our office in the back when you come back from jury duty.
By the way, if they come after me, they're coming after you guys too.
Guilty by association.
I don't know him at all.
Never heard of him. Never met him. Never heard of him.
I hate the Phillies. I hate the Eagles.
No, I don't know him.
You know who's going to be in the grand jury? Probably 10 people like Big Dom. 855-212-4CBS.
I would defend Big Dom. There's no way I would convict Big Dom of a crime. That man is a saint.
Yeah, up on the sidelines and everything.
When I walk in front of the judge, are they going to ask me, "Are you an Eagles fan?" Because you're immediately disqualified for good judgment.
You've got to own up to things when you're on jury duty. Like, yeah, are you related to a cop?
Yeah,
stuff. It's like, no, but Your Honor, I am an Eagles fan.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Horrible.
Oh, by the way,
good luck.
Big game on Sunday. You know I'll be coming with excuses on Monday if we lose. Just get ready for him, America.
Perloff's going to stop all the court proceedings and be like, can I workshop something on you guys? If I say the Eagles lost because Dallas Goedert wasn't 100%, would that fly with you?
See, I thought John Sterling was the one that was getting the OVO sweatshop-like takes, but maybe it will actually be Perloff in this jury duty.
I know.
That's amazing, by the way, that Maggie said that. We've worked too long together because I was about to say Dallas Goedert. It's not 100%. That's exactly what I was about to say. And it's true.
I'm in your brain.
It is true.
Thank you, Perloff. Well, good luck.
Thanks. Hopefully I show up on Monday.
Yeah, don't convict any mobsters. There you go. It's easy. 855-212-4CBS. We still have tons to do here, including we're getting you caught up on one of the biggest stories in college football. So don't move on that. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. It's Maggie and Perloff here on CBS Sports Radio. Perloff just had to dip out because he's got jury duty. The grand jury in the borough of Brooklyn, New York, which is where they basically have tried every mob case in history. Maybe outside of like Whitey Bulger or something. So hopefully everything goes well. Andrew Bogusch is still here, of course. He's got headlines for us. Good morning, Andrew Bogusch. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Is it actually grand jury duty?
It's grand jury duty.
Ooh, that's the big gamble. That's the one you can get caught for like a month at.
I know. This could turn into the Maggie and Bogusch show very quickly. So
wow.
Clear your schedule.
You know, I love like Law and Order and cop shows. I'd want to be on a jury if it was somehow more conducive to our lives. If I was between jobs, I'd go be a jury duty.
You want to be on a jury. You want to be sequestered in some crap hotel, like not being able to watch TV.
So that's the thing. You want that. You want the fullest experience. Like you want a murder case, but you don't get the cool ones. You don't
do
get.
Want a murder case?
I mean, if I'm going to be on jury duty, put me on the Gotti trial. Yeah, like I want to.
You're crazy.
I want to be in the mix. I don't want to be like doing some kind of like minor hit and run, or the last time I got called for was like a personal like injury situation. I don't want that.
That's what I got
want the
too.
Juicy details.
I got one where I was getting so close to actually making it on this jury that I was like, I got to do something to get myself out of it. And I'm sorry for shirking my civic responsibility here. But I said to the judge, like, I'm getting voir dired, and it's like, I'm making it down to the final, whatever. And finally the judge goes, is there anything you could say that would preclude you from being on the jury? Like, this is your last chance. And I just raised my hand. I was like, I can't keep a secret. He's like, what? I was like, I'm a broadcaster. I've actually been talking about this entire process for the last week, and I can't keep my mouth shut. And I'm sorry. I've told everyone about all the details of the case. And he was like, get out of here. Peace, everybody. Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving.
Could you mark that down on my file so they don't even ask me back here next time? Is that a thing?
I'm a blabbermouth. You've got headlines for us.
Yes, and they are sponsored by the Andrew Perloff School for Lonely Boys. From over-unders to under the sheets, we'll find you the companionship you don't know that you're missing.
You realize Perloff's going to be the one in front of a grand jury if people read that wrong.
Bill Belichick
investment
is a winner again. His Patriots racing to a 21-3 lead in Pittsburgh last night, held on for a 21-18 W, ending their 5-game skid.
Thought, really great job by the players and the coaches this week. Obviously short week. Tough, disappointing game last week, but, they came in a really good week of preparation. I thought the guys played with a lot of effort, energy, toughness.
The 21 New England points all came from Bailey Zappi TD throws, and all 3 of them came in the first half. 2 of them to tight end Hunter Henry. He's the first player with 2 scores on his birthday since 1977. The Steelers, meanwhile, lose to 2 two-win teams 4 days apart, both at home, after Sunday's loss to the Cardinals. This one last night, leading Mike Tomlin to channel Arnold Schwarzenegger.
We get ready for our next opportunity next week. That's what we always do. Obviously, this stings, but we'll be back.
They'll be back, but maybe not back in the postseason. The Steelers out of a wild card spot for now.
I mean, stings is kind of an understatement. I mean, that was awful.
Also, we'll be back. It's a regular season game. Yeah,
It's
everybody's
week
back
14.
next week.
You got a game in week 15.
All 32 will be back.
I think he means we'll be back to being less crappy. Not we are uneliminated by this loss.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think they can deliver on that.
I would agree with you as well.
But when you hear the "we'll be back," usually it's after a playoff loss or after a championship loss, and you're like, you know what, we got this far and it didn't work out, but you know what, we'll be back. So after losing to 2 straight games where teams would have 2 wins and they will be back, I'm like, back to what?
Yeah, on to Indy.
Yeah.
So next week starts the Saturday games.
Yes.
They're playing on Saturday night because I just looked it up. I'm like, NFL Network? That's not right. And I'm like, oh, yeah, of course that'd be the JV game. Steelers, Colts on a Saturday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's about right.
Ohio State wideout Marvin Harrison Jr. says he's undecided about the NFL draft right now. Some think he is the second best player available, but there are reports that he and running back Trayvon Henderson have lucrative NIL deals to stick with the Buckeyes. That being said, a first-round pick like Harrison would get like $25 million fully guaranteed. I'm not sure those NIL deals exist at the moment. So you're not going dollar for dollar here.
This is the biggest fallacy about NIL with guys who are top picks in the first round. Like, there's no shot that the money is equaling this out. And here's the other part. If you're Caleb Williams, right, or someone who would threaten to go back to school, and it's like, oh, but he's got all this NIL money. It's like, yeah, but NIL's not going to give you Joe Burrow money, which is what you're hoping for. You got to start the clock on that second contract if you really want to get paid. Why delay that?
Meanwhile, the Buckeyes, like everybody else, hit hard by the transfer portal. Clemson's prepping for the Gator Bowl with a roster influx. Head coach Dabo Swinney not blaming the portal or NIL, though.
Portal's not the problem. NIL's not the problem. The problem is tampering. That's the problem. That is the problem in college football, and that could be fixed easily, too, if they would let football people fix it. But we don't usually get a vote in that. But that's the biggest challenge that we're dealing with is that aspect of it.
I just want to point out quickly, the man grunting in agreement is Kentucky head coach Mark Stoops. That's the competition of the Gator Bowl. Stoops very recently allowed himself to be tampered with by Texas A&M when the Aggies were looking for a new head coach, and now he's mad that other coaches are trying to get his players off of his roster.
Well, I always love this, not just for that hypocrisy of Stoops maybe using Texas A&M to try to get a better deal with Kentucky, but also, like, I'd be like, all right, coach, you hate tampering, so don't do it.
Although,
like, I dare you stop then. Like, because I'm sure Clemson, like, so to tell all your assistant coaches and all your players, nobody reach out to anybody else on a different team.
Yeah.
Like, you won't do it.
I think that's where Dabo uses the Connor Stallions of his world, is like he needs to be holier than thou, so he's not tampering, but he's got a guy that tampers.
Yeah, it's
so
called your offensive and defensive coordinators.
As much as I hate to give Dabo any kind of rope here, he is the anti-transfer guy. Like, they haven't had a lot of transfers.
I know, but they're dipping in now. They got an offensive lineman.
From what D5 school?
Yeah, from a school we didn't think was real.
We thought was fake, which would have been a hilarious statement for Dabo to make.
And in some ways, I feel like, I don't know, Mark Stoops has no stake in this, but it kind of makes sense that Dabo will be upset about tampering, because if you're not benefiting from tampering, then you're probably really getting, mauled by the transfer portal.
I would just find it hard to believe that there's never been, no one on the Clemson staff has ever negatively recruited or tried to say, hey, don't go to Alabama, Nick Saban's going to retire. Like, no one's ever said that on the Clemson staff. No. I find it hard to believe.
Well, I definitely agree with that. But his thing is he's worried about players that are currently on his team, because technically you're not supposed to talk to anybody until you're in the portal. Sure. He's saying you have guys that are being recruited on his roster during the season, perhaps when they're not getting much playing time or whatever. He's saying that is the biggest issue.
Sure, and I would say let's check the text messages of everybody who's on the Clemson staff.
Maggie, as you've already pointed out this morning, Tyrese Halliburton was the best show on the Strip last night.
Halliburton driving to his left, steps back, splash! 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 The bench erupts!
Mark Boyle, Pacers radio. Halliburton, 27 points and 15 assists. Indy outscored Milwaukee 37-25 in the fourth to take their NBA Cup semifinal 128-119. Then the Pelicans stepped aside for LeBron and the Lakers, a 133-89 LA win. So it's them and Indy for the title tomorrow night. Please clear your schedules.
Oh, I am.
And Jon Rahm is leaving the PGA Tour for Live Golf. It's a multi-year deal reportedly worth $300 million. Rahm was very much anti-Live, but since the two tours are trying to merge, there's no longer a need to say no to those millions. I was confused because I thought you didn't have to do this anymore.
Yeah.
But I guess they still, when they're together, they still may be separate. And they have a deadline coming up where they have to finalize their agreement. So it's possible that they don't do that.
And the merger never goes through?
And then there's other people getting involved and there's different business relationships. So I guess there are multiple reasons why you still have to declare one or the other.
Yeah, this was an odd thing to me too. I didn't understand. I'm like, I thought Liv and the PGA were together. And that's why everyone was upset with Jay Monahan and what a Monahan part of me and what a hypocrite he was. And the money's all coming from the same place with the Saudis.
Yeah, but now you still can benefit. You can still get a Live check. And unlike the previous guys, Rahm's not going to get in trouble from the PGA Tour for doing this. And he doesn't have to turn in his PGA Tour card, so he can still play everything and Ryder Cup, presumably, and get this deal is 3 times more than his career earnings so far. So without all the morality stuff floating around anymore, he's allowed to just take it and run.
Well, it's funny because every time a guy jumps ship, they make him go on Fox News or CNBC or something like that. They make him go on do some kind of media tour, not with any sports people though, only with financial people or news people. And it's why even put these guys out there? I know it's for promotion for Live, but what is he supposed to say? I did it for the money. You want to hear me spell it out? I don't know.
And last night he was wearing almost like a leather bomber jacket that said Live Golf. And no matter what, it always looks like a hostage video. It always looks like they're being forced to do this. It's the strangest thing. The lighting is weird. The mood is weird. They're weird in this because they know they're kind of half lying. It's so bizarre.
No, but that's golf. Everything's a hostage video. Remember Tiger Woods' first press conference after the scandal?
Yeah.
And it was in front of that weird blue background.
Right.
Just what? What?
Remember, he kept answering every question, saying the name of the reporter. Hey, Pete. Sub Jonesy.
His mom was in the front row.
Hi, Johnny.
It was
just why are you doing this? First of all, you normally hate these people.
Yes.
And now everybody's got nicknames.
Yeah, now it's
and you're
Jonesy,
greeting every single person. And come on.
Although he knows those guys because they're the ones that are allowed to be there. That's how Tiger rolls too.
That's true.
Those guys sit in the front because they know they're going to ask the questions that are not too controversial.
Imagine you have this big scandal where you cheated on your wife and it turns out you've been cheating for years and years and it's just your mom in the front row. Oh, oof. Just judging. Anyway.
I'm done.
Tiger Woods by the way, clearly not affected by mobile gambling. That's not affecting
He was
his,
not part of the
he didn't have the
30%.
bookie issues that Perloff was having in high school.
It's an all-time quote from this woman. I wonder if she even realizes how famous she's become now in sports world. This is, if you're just joining us, a woman who's an economist who blamed, amongst other things, but sports betting and the ubiquitousness of sports betting for why men are not interested in dating women anymore and not interested in sex.
What I don't understand,
a certain portion of young men.
What I don't understand is with mobile betting, you don't have to watch the game. You could just put your bets in and then go do whatever. That was the correlation I couldn't quite get.
Right, you don't need to be at the OTB anymore or the racetrack.
Right.
You can be at dinner with a hot chick trying to
and then
after while
you can see if you're over or under.
Yeah, but what's the fun of that? If you're going to place the bet, don't you want to watch the game?
I mean, I've placed bets, and you think I'm watching those Patriots games? I'm betting
you just betting the under blindly.
That is torture. I'd rather be at the dentist.
You wake up in the morning what happened to my bet? Yeah, I feel there's a lot here, a lot on this one about men and what and young men and kind of what their priorities are now, and some men feeling isolated and alienated. I don't want to take away that seriousness of it. I just feel like it's odd to blame sports betting.
Yeah, there are definitely things at play here that might even be connected to COVID and being home and just learning to be better, to be on your own and not need human interaction or think you don't need it. But I don't think high on the list of causes for all of that is my 8-legged parlay that I just put through DraftKings. I don't think that's where it's coming from.
Yeah, maybe a symptom, not a cause, right?
Yeah.
855-212-4CBS. Okay, Bogusch, thank you so much. We do have college football news to get to. We will do that for you. Plus, I mean, big NFL games. Now that Perloff's not here, we can talk about how big this game is for the Eagles and the Cowboys.
He told me yesterday he was going to leave me excuses for if I was going to sit here and pretend to be him, that I was going to have to present myself as an Eagle apologist, and he left me nothing.
More excuses.
Yeah.
855-212-4CBS. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Where in the world is Shohei OHTANI going to sign?
Well, it looks like we might have an answer to that very soon. Hey, welcome to the show, Maggie Gray. Andrew Perloff is at jury duty right now, so Andrew Bogusch is good enough to step in for Perloff, and you're already pulling your weight around here, Bogusch, because you alerted us to this tweet.
John Morosi says that the Shohei OHTANI decision is imminent, maybe as soon as today.
It'd be so like this to break on a Friday, news dump, the biggest contract maybe in the history of Major League Baseball. But that aside, okay, so here's the big question. John Morosi says the decision is imminent, could happen today. So now we're on OHTANI watch. Do you think it will be one of the 4 teams that he was publicly linked to, or because he was so big on this being private, is there a mystery team out of nowhere?
Can I hedge my bet for a second?
No.
Or hedge my answer? There's not a mystery team in the truest sense of the term, a team that we have never connected to him before. Like, he's not going to be a Milwaukee Brewer in 4 hours. Could it be a team that we thought was out of the mix and really wasn't? Yes, but it's not going to be somebody completely out of nowhere because it's him and it involves $600 million. There's only a small group of people that actually can afford to do this. So it will not be a complete surprise, but maybe it's not the Dodgers, but I still think it is.
I think it's the Dodgers. It's going to be the Dodgers. I never bought the idea that Dave Roberts, the manager of the Dodgers, simply telling the media that they met and that it went well, somehow took L.A. out of the running here. Like, that's preposterous. And anyone who's making decisions like that, these types of big decisions with that kind of flimsy, those type of flimsy parameters, like, saying you had a meeting and it went well is not revealing, your MRI results.
Right. That's a good point. You can't, if you're the OHTANI side of things, you can't have that truly be, because I don't think it's really like a trust issue that Dave Roberts said that. Like, I don't think that means that he's going to share your MRI result down the road. And if that DQ'd you, then you probably don't want to sign up for the ensuing headaches from all the other demands that this side's going to make.
Well, and here's the thing, right? Who has the power? OHTANI has the power. So to me, like, this is going to be fascinating about how he decides to use his power, because he definitely used it in a certain way with the Angels, and I think we all understood it. It's like, doesn't want to talk to the media, doesn't want to be forthright about injury stuff, all that. And we were like, well, but it's with the Angels. Like, they suck and they wasted and squandered all this potential. Can he do that kind of thing with the Dodgers? I know they're in the same market, but we all know it's not the same. There's not the same attention around these two teams.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe that's what keeps the Angels alive-ish in all of this. But I still think you can play the game, so to speak, the way you want to play it almost wherever you are. Like, he could live in New York, he could live in L.A., and we could still maybe never see him out on the streets or know what his dog's name is. I think for the most part, he can, whatever kind of like secrecy he wants to live in is accomplishable anywhere.
I think if he signed, again, they're not a finalist, so I don't think. The Yankees, I think, would be tough. Even like Jeter said nothing, but was out there all the time. Aaron Judge says nothing, but does stand up in front of the cameras. Like, you do have to be a bit accountable.
You do have to be accountable, yes. And I think in terms of like in the post-game locker room, after a game or after a start, you're going to hear from him, but you're not going to have him. Like, when I was in high school and college when the Jeter Yankees were going on. Like, I knew on the Upper East Side, in high school, like, we knew which movie theater the Yankee guys went to because and which bars they liked. When I was at Fordham, Jeter and Shane Spencer sign themselves into a dorm to hang out with girls. Like Shohei's not doing that. So like you can choose to keep that stuff off the table.
That is true. I lived in Washington Heights where half of the neighborhood is renamed for Robinson Cano. So I understand exactly what you're talking about. But some markets are a little bit more, like you just need to be a little more adept at handling the media than others. So here were the finalists that we thought: the Dodgers, the San Francisco Giants, Toronto, the Angels, and the Cubs, right? Were the ones we knew about. It'd be fascinating if there was a mystery team.
Yeah.
And
and
again,
I love
the Rangers, another deep-pocketed team.
Braves. The Braves. No, thank you. I love the Jays angle. Like, let's take over a third country. We get him in the East Coast, better time for the rest for us, selfishly.
Yep.
Also selfishly, he's not a direct competitor to our favorite baseball team.
Yes.
And now he's in Canada on top of dominating the U.S. and, of course, Japan. I mean, make himself even more global. And that's a good team that needs, everybody needs him, but that's a team that becomes a World Series contender by adding him on it. I'm all on the Blue Jays bandwagon here for this one.
Do you think that there was like a marketing meeting with his people, and they were like, Shohei, Canada? Like the uncapped Canada. Like this is where the marketing dollars are going to come. Maybe.
Imagine him in a Leafs jersey shooting with on Austin Matthews.
Or imagine him at the next Drake concert.
That too.
That's going to happen if he's a Blue Jay.
Yeah,
the way Drake jumps from bandwagon to bandwagon.
I was going to say Drake will attach himself to Shohei OHTANI if he signs with the Milwaukee with the Minnesota Twins.
That is true.
Drake doesn't matter.
And Shohei, Pascal Siakam,
Vince Carter.
Look out.
He's not going there. He's going back to the Angels. That's my opinion.
He's not. That's
I agree
not happening.
with Pete, by the way.
You're both wrong.
Why are they still in it? It doesn't make any sense. He
He's
should have
being
eliminated them
courteous.
from day one.
Why are they not trading Trout?
That too.
They'll trade Trout next week when they don't have OHTANI.
Why is Ron Washington being so cagey? Maybe because he's Ron Washington.
I was going to say.
That's how he always is.
Try to predict Ron Washington. I wouldn't go down that rabbit hole. Meanwhile, one NFL coach in hot water. We'll get into that next. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's destined to get knocked out by Jake Paul. She's destined to film it. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Welcome to the show. It is Maggie and Perloff. Maggie Gray. Andrew Perloff had to skip out of here. He's serving on a grand jury today. So we all wish him the very best of luck. But the sports world continues to turn. And this one was, to say a shock, I think would be a massive understatement. And that is some new anecdotes and some new reporting around Buffalo Bills head coach Sean McDermott. The reporting is done by a friend of the show, Ty Dunne. He has his own website and Substack. It's called Go Long. He is the founder of it. He does phenomenal work. Ty, thanks so much for the time today. How are you?
Doing good. Great to be here, Maggie. As always, when I hear your voice, I'm for a Rob Johnson defense. So I really wish we were going that direction.
I know,
But as you know, he was the superior quarterback, so there's really no need for us to go there.
I know. The one thing you and I will never agree on when it comes to Buffalo Bills and their history. But Ty, one thing where you and I think, are in lockstep is examining the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. And in this season that, is just as far from expected as possible, right? Even despite injuries on the defense, everyone expected that the Buffalo Bills would still be a Super Bowl contender. Instead, they're languishing at 6-6. But you've done a deep dive. And when I say deep dive, I mean, Ty, was this 10,000 words? I mean, it was unbelievably sourced and reported about the head coach of the Buffalo Bills and sort of how he fits into everything. So let's start here. This is not complimentary about Sean McDermott, right? At all. What about McDermott makes you believe that he's the reason that the Bills haven't been to the Super Bowl yet in the Josh Allen era?
I think that final point is the impetus here. We all see this quarterback. We all know that he is one of three, maybe one of two people on the planet that he does. And 6 years into his career, 7 years into Sean McDermott, and yet we really do see these games end the same way repeatedly. 13 seconds, which we delved into at length. And you're right, go along TD.com and get the whole series up at 3 parts, 21,000 words. So we went a lot of different directions here. Whether it's 13 seconds, whether it's the Hail Mary, whether it's 4th and 18, whether it's the kneel, pick your nickname, right? There's not many coaches who have accrued this many nicknames off of this many collapses.
Wait, Ty, hold on one second. I just want to stop you. The connection is bad. I don't want to, you're making a lot of great points here, and I don't want to get lost with a bad connection. So while we do have a moment. So Ty is talking about the amount of times that the Bills and the Josh Allen era have come up short, and the fact that there is like a shorthand for these instances and that's how painful they are, right? And like this is how well known they are, which is the 13 seconds game. Of course, remember the divisional round loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe a little bit less known is the Hail Murray, which is the Bills losing on a last-second Hail Mary to Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. There's the 4th and 18, which Minnesota Vikings fans will understand. That was a connection to Justin Jefferson, a home game. And it goes on, including a kneel down in Philadelphia with 20 seconds left on the clock and one timeout, where possibly the Bills could have gotten into field goal range and not gotten into overtime with the Philadelphia Eagles and eventually lost in that overtime. And I think there's going to be a lot of people, and I would get this, who look at the Bills and say, why are you complaining? What do you have to possibly complain about? This is an all-time great quarterback, right? This is a team that maybe is a couple injuries away from being right back in there in contention. But there are some underlying issues that Ty brings out in this piece that signal that things may not be as peachy as we think. One is that there have been a lot of coaches on the staff, not just offensive and defensive coordinators, who have left the team to go to lateral moves. This is not something that you see with teams that are legit Super Bowl contenders. And according to the over 25 sources that Ty spoke to, these are assistant coaches and former coaches who are sprinting towards the exit because they don't want to work for Sean McDermott anymore. And listen, McDermott might not be the friendliest, fuzziest guy. Neither is Bill Belichick. But here's the thing about Belichick. All the assistants come back. It may not be a picnic to work for Bill Belichick, to play for him, or to coach under him, but think about the amount of guys who go back there. Think about Josh McDaniels. Bill O'Brien is there right now for a second time. Think about Joe Judge. I mean, they all these guys find their way back to the Patriots, whereas Sean McDermott, according to this reporting, there have been so many coaches who are running for the exits, and those coaches are not coming back around. They're leaving for lateral moves to leave a Super Bowl contender for non-Super Bowl contenders and just for better work environment. Okay, Ty, you're back with us. Let's go back through why you think McDermott is he the reason you think that the Bills have not been to the Super Bowl in the Josh Allen era?
Yeah, I think that a lot of different themes and a lot of different words are used repeatedly by players, by coaches, by personnel men. I talked to 25 people in all who have passed through that building, past and some present. And the words that come up, number one, is tight. And you see it. You feel it. It's not a coincidence that this team with this coach gets into these moments, 20 seconds left, you have a timeout, you have Josh Allen, you're facing a bad Philly secondary, and you take a knee. Right? This is the kind of finish that you've seen repeatedly. And it's not a coincidence that in 13 seconds, we could spend an hour talking about his decision to kick it deep when the special teams coordinator wanted the squib, and 10 of the 11 heard squib. But just fast forward to those two plays. I mean, he takes the timeout before each play. I was told that he just flat out took over the play calling from Leslie Frazier, and you can see him talking into the headset on the TV copy, and he calls it Kodak, like taking a timeout before a big play to get everybody set. And it sounds great on paper, right? It sounds great in theory, like a lot of different anecdotes that you might have read in this story. You might be overthinking it a little bit here. But this is a game played by human beings, played on instinct. It's almost like a basketball game, right? When Phil Jackson sees Michael Jordan strip the ball from Karl Malone, and he's dribbling down the like. You don't call timeout there. You let Jordan be Jordan. Like, just don't get in the way. Players win games, coaches lose games, and they're losing these games because of their coach. Like, it's, those two plays, for example, you've got your DBs on their heels. One safety's 31 yards off the ball, another safety's 27, 28 yards off the ball, and that game ends in tragic fashion. But that's not even the worst part of it, Maggie, as you read. I mean, not only was it never dealt with publicly and no explanation given to the fans, privately, with the coaches, with the players, it was finger pointing. It was not meeting this head on. And like any trauma in life, this is trauma in sports, that kind of finish. I think that loss has really lingered to the point where they're a 6-6 team that is maxed out with this head coach.
Ty, I think that, people on the outside would look at this and say, what are you guys complaining about? Everyone complains, talk to a Cowboy fan about how Mike McCarthy manages the end of a game. Talk to anybody about, coaches' decisions. Every fan base would have an issue. But with McDermott, I think a fan would say they're winning a lot of games. Okay, they're having a down year. There's been injuries on the defense, but they're winning a lot of games. What's the problem here? How is there a problem?
That's a great question, because I think that's where the Bills are organizationally. They're looking at this as he's the most winning coach in Buffalo Bills history. He's the drought slayer. They didn't make the playoffs for 17 years, right? You're going through the retread coaches, the Chan Galeys, the Dick Durans. You're going through, Rob Johnson notwithstanding, legend. You're going through a lot of pretty bad quarterbacks for 17 years. And you find a coach who ends the drought. You find a quarterback. You win 3 divisional championships. I get it. I mean, there's an argument to be made there when you've got a stadium being built, literally right now, and you want to fill it with hope, with fans thinking you got a winner. So you can think about this team through that lens of, holy hell, we don't want to go back to the dark ages and suffer through another 17 years. But that's kind of how Sean McDermott coaches. Are you going to look up at that clock, see 20 seconds, see one timeout, and take a knee? Or are you going to be bold and realize Josh Allen is 27. He ain't getting any younger. He plays a certain way. You've got a Super Bowl window open. Maximize it. How many games, how many finishes do the Bills need to see to realize you are wasting this guy's career? And that's why in part 3, I chatted with Brett Favre at length all about this, because he's probably as close to Josh Allen as we'll see in terms of play style. And he looks back at his career, and it's like, man, I had a really good thing with Mike Holmgren for 7 years. And we won one Super Bowl, but we would have won a hell of a lot more if we were together. And I think that Josh Allen had that type of relationship with Brian Daboll, and he certainly doesn't have it with Sean McDermott.
Yeah, it's interesting, even McDermott being a defensive coach, that it doesn't seem like they have a deep relationship, which means not a lot of trust. Now, there's an anecdote that's getting a lot of attention that is in the story, and it's a story from training camp where Sean McDermott, the head coach of the Bills, brings the team together, and he wants to, give them sort of a pep talk, if you will, or maybe something to think about, and he wants the theme to be teamwork. And to, illustrate this, teamwork and the benefits of teamwork, he uses the 9/11 terrorists and hijackers as an example of how people work together, not the aftermath and how a country came together after those attacks, the actual perpetrators of the attack. I mean, this is unfathomable. Was this like a coach having a bad moment, Ty, or was this something else?
This is, it's a bad moment for sure. I think that it exposes Sean McDermott in terms of the way he thinks the game, thinks the profession. He overthinks everything in his mind, and he did apologize when there was this uproar and players and coaches were justifiably pissed off by him using that as an analogy. Went out on the field, and I guess one player interpreted it as a heartfelt apology. Another player told me that, he kind of doubled down. And I didn't think it was that sincere. But in his mind, it was that evil can come together to execute something so heinous. Imagine what we could do as a football team trying to win games. So he just overthought it to the extreme. And I think that kind of shows, side of Sean McDermott. Like, this is somebody who is going to overthink everything, right? And we were just talking about how these games have all ended. He's overthinking them. You just have to be a human being. And you have to realize this is a sport played by human beings with emotion. And you don't have to be so calculating and meticulous and take things to that extreme to the point of literally comparing your players to the hijackers of 9/11. I mean, my jaw hit the floor hearing this from whatever it was, 7, 8 different people that were there. I mean, he's saying this to a group of about 100 people when you think about over 100, 90 on the camp roster, coaches, trainers, all of that. And for him not to have that switch in his head and realize, like, this is wrong, you cannot use this as an analogy, I think it tells you a lot about his robotic nature, because that's the word that comes up right there with him being tight, is he's just kind of a robot and struggles to communicate. And that is the most extreme case that you'll ever hear when it comes to that.
Oh, without a doubt. And Ty Dunne is joining us. He's the founder of Go Long, and he's this deep, exhaustive reporting on Sean McDermott and the Buffalo Bills and everything behind the scenes. Now, here's my question, right? A story like that comes out. Now, this didn't just happen, and it happened in front of a lot of people, that 9/11 anecdote. So imagine people in positions of power in the organization knew that this happened, right? And they were willing to look past it or move past it or whatever. So I'm curious about the power dynamic with the Bills and if you could shed light on this, because I think Sean McDermott has a lot of power with the Bills. He was hired before the general manager was hired, and the owner really is kind of hands-off. It was his wife who was more involved, I believe, in the day-to-day, and she's had to step away for health reasons. If Sean McDermott was going to be on the hot seat, who was making this decision?
Terry Pegula, right? It's his decision. And you just nailed it, Maggie. I mean, Sean McDermott is hired. He handpicks his general manager in Brandon Beane. I think it's worth noting, too, and I wrote this, players, coaches, the sources in this story who had the most critical things to say about Sean McDermott and the way he leads a team behind the scenes, in almost the same breath go out of their way to say how spectacular of a human being Brandon Beane is. I think that he puts out a lot of fires behind the scenes that nobody sees. I mean, he is somebody that can communicate. He is somebody that can sit down with a coach who is maybe ticked off about something Sean's doing and try to kind of mend fences. And players, he's the one that cuts players, releases players, and they're even saying, like, yeah, even though that's the dynamic with Brandon Beane, I can go to him with anything. That's the guy I really feel I can have a conversation with. So he's on, at best, equal footing, I guess, with Sean, because they're kind of tied at the hip contractually. But you're right, Sean brought him in. So it's not like Brandon Beane can really do anything in terms of Sean McDermott. It would take Terry Pegula realizing, okay, here's the GM who was the driving force behind drafting Josh Allen, probably knows what he's doing. He's built a roster that, not perfect, but good enough to win a Super Bowl. And Sean McDermott, with all these wins, there's probably a lot of coaches who could step into this situation and not do worse, as one player said. So will that light bulb go off with ownership? I'm not sure. I really don't know. I'm hearing everything that the Athletic heard that's out there, that they believe in Sean McDermott as the coach. They kind of poo-pooed this 9/11 stuff and like, oh, it was well known. I don't know, I'm telling you, there's players and coaches that it didn't sit well with them, for what it's worth.
Yeah.
And if they win games and are competitive, it's hard to see him getting fired. If the wheels fall off, they lose out, they miss the playoffs, I know owners can change their minds. They tend to do that.
Ty, last one for you. And again, thank you for this. And it is a hell of a read. Whether you're a Bills fan or not, it's just very interesting about the inner dynamics and inner workings about a team that is right on the cusp, right? With an all-time quarterback and how they can possibly get through and break through. Last one for you. So obviously the Sean McDermott 9/11 story is going to get a lot of headlines, and rightfully so. Amongst all the other reporting you had, is there another story or another moment that you feel like fans should know, Bills fans, football fans, that you think really like sort of encapsulates everything that you were trying to get across with this piece?
There's many that would fit in this category. I think the takeaway is, with this coach, this team is kind of fighting against itself before needing to even play an opponent. And that's the way one assistant coach put it. You've got to overcome your own head coach before you even play the game that next Sunday. And there are so many examples that go into it. I know we're pressed for time. A couple that jump out, man, Chad Hall, beloved wide receivers coach, gets the most out of Stephon Diggs after everything went to hell in Minnesota. Guys love him. They all chip in. They get him a dang truck. And that is described as a dark day at One Bills Drive because Sean didn't like players getting close with a coach. Chad declined comment for the story, but I heard this from several different people. And it was a little insane. And on top of that, his salary, I guess, was the lowest in the NFL, pretty insulting. That's a war that doesn't need to be fought, right? Like, this is a sign of great culture. If your players are doing this for a coach, why are you painting this as the biggest negative ever? Again and again and again, you just hear stories like that and manifest to the field, and that's why this team with this quarterback that should have a Super Bowl by now is 6-6, wondering where did it all go wrong.
Ty, again, fantastic. GoLongTD.com. I'm a subscriber to the Substack. I love it. This and all the other stuff that you do, fantastic work, and really appreciate it.
Any day, anytime, Maggie. Thanks so much for having me on, and then let's just do it again soon.
Definitely. Ty Dunne, got to check him out. Go Long. He's the founder and does great reporting. I mean, not just the Bills, does great reporting. And this was illuminating. Because here's the thing about Buffalo is that Josh Allen has broken through, like crossed over. You know, we talk about young people today and young fans of the league, how maybe they're more into individual players than they are teams. Josh Allen is the perfect example of that. You've got kids running around with Josh Allen jerseys that couldn't probably name 3 other people on the roster.
I don't know about Bogusch's son, but I mean, he is a young kid in the Josh Allen jersey.
Exactly. He probably knows Allen and Diggs.
Yep.
And, you know, it's not the same as it used to be. And I'm not saying that's wrong or that's bad, but Josh Allen is a guy who's broken through. And when you get so close and each time you're falling short, and it's clear that the head coach has something to do with it, and the coach is telling everyone else, no, it's this, that, and that, it becomes extremely frustrating, I imagine, behind the scenes.
This is a market thing to me. I don't think he could get away with this if he was playing for. It's a market thing. I also think it's a franchise popularity thing. Like if he was coaching the Steelers, he was coaching the Niners, he was coaching the Cowboys, there's no way I think he'd be able to get away with this kind of behind the scenes stuff. I mean, again, we're hearing reports of stuff that happened 4 or 5 years ago with this guy. Like if he's coaching again the Steelers or he's coaching that big market, there's no way this happens. You don't have a talent like Josh Allen that's that elite, and then you say, well, you know, it's everyone else's fault that we're not winning.
I think it's really easy, and I'm not saying the reporters in Buffalo aren't good. They're very good.
Yeah,
and they're
absolutely.
digging around, like Ty and Tim Graham, who's been on the show, and Elena, and I'm forgetting, like there's so many. The Bills have they're really good at keeping stuff in-house. It's very Belichickian in that way. And the fact that this 9/11 anecdote never got out until now, which Ty had 7 people confirm this story went down the way that he writes it, that I find that hard to believe it would have stayed under wraps. I mean, it's and now you know about it, and now what do you do about that? You got a head coach that just looks absolutely clueless. Maybe it was just a bad moment, but as Ty says, there's other instances where his communication is totally out of whack.
And the 2019 part of this is the fascinating part to me because, I mean, he was an embattled coach in 2019. I mean, that ended up being their first good season where they had 10 wins. 9-7 first year, 6-10 the second year, and there's thoughts about whether or not he's going to survive. Part of me is like, I mean, he says this comment, it clearly rubs so many people the wrong way.
How could it not? You know?
Like, why wasn't he just removed right then and there?
Yeah. You got to understand, though, like, there's a lot of context. That Buffalo was one of those revolving door places. You know,
that is true.
It's Rex Ryan, it's Mike Mularkey, it's Dick Duran, it's Chan Gailey, it's nobody, ultimately. It was nobody. And he broke that playoff drought, and that meant a lot. 855-212-4CBS. But the 9/11 stuff, I mean, it's fireable. But they didn't fire him then when he said it. So now you're going to fire him years later. That feels like now you'd be caving to public pressure. But I don't know if that's right either. Like you've moved past it. Well, you haven't moved past it probably, but the organization clearly thinks that you moved past it. So that's tough. 855-212-4CBS. Yes, jaw on the floor, as Ty said. I think that's about right. Coming up, a lot more to do, including we've got Shohei OHTANI updates for you. We've got more preview of what's going on this weekend in the NFL. Massive, massive game on the docket. We'll get to it next. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
On Westwood One for free. It's sponsored by AutoZone. All season long, you can listen to every Westwood One broadcast of the NFL live on the NFL app by asking Alexa to open Westwood One Sports or on the Odyssey app. Got to get in the zone. AutoZone, the free AutoZone Fix Finder service, can help you find a fix for free. Get in the zone. AutoZone, restrictions apply. It's Maggie and Perloff on this Friday. Perloff has had to scurry away to jury duty, where he is going to be hopefully not tied up for too long. I'm here. Andrew Bogusch is here with some headlines. We were just talking a little. We have some Shohei OHTANI updates for you in just a moment. But if you caught any of the in-season tournament last night, which I know, listen, that Patriots-Steelers game first half probably killed any chance the in-season tournament had of maybe grabbing some eyeballs because they hit the over in the first half, which no one was expecting. You have Bailey Zappi comes out and throws 3 touchdown passes in the first half. It's like, oh man, we got a game here. And the Patriots did not score in the second half, so it's fool's gold a little. But the in-season tournament did this thing, Bogusch, I don't know if you saw it, between the first and second game, they had like musical performances. And
I did not see it. I barely saw the actual basketball.
Well, it wasn't Dave Matthews, man, so of course you didn't see it. But
hey,
it was.
I like other people.
That's a lie. It was Nelly with another guy with him. That guy never got introduced. Hype man.
Probably just a hype man, yeah. Not Flavor Flav.
No, not Flavor Flav. It was
Nelly and the other guy.
Nelly and the other guy. And then it was 2 of the 3 members of TLC because, unfortunately, Left Eye has passed away. So it was T-Boz and Chili from TLC. And I got to tell you, I know the NBA didn't intend to do this, but they made me feel so old. Because, first of all, there was no way that half the members of TLC wanted to be there in that moment, except for the check. Nelly he's mailing it in. And no one in the audience knew the words except for the hook. Like, everyone in the audience was too young to know the words and sing along. And that was like my wheelhouse. And I felt very old.
Well, I mean, bring back your Dave Matthews jokes, because what's a better choice? Dave Matthews crushing whatever arena that is, or these dopes, sleepwalking through it? Come on.
Listen, Nelly did his thing at the Big 12 tournament, Big 12 championship.
In what year?
He did it on Saturday.
Oh, so last weekend he gave all his energy was spent on Saturday. Had nothing left for Thursday in Vegas.
He's a little older. He announced he's having a kid. Congratulations to him and Ashanti. A lot's going on in his life. Okay, he can't bat 1,000 at this point in his career.
It was just it made me feel bad about myself, and I'm wondering if other people have experienced this. Like when you see artists, musicians, it's not their fault, but like everyone ages. Maybe you put on a couple pounds, maybe you're looking a little bloated, whatever it is, and it makes the audience feel old. It makes the people you intend to entertain feel old.
Right, and I would also wonder why they thought they needed to entertain us. There are other things for us to do in between these 2 games, especially because the first game went long, I think longer than they thought.
Yeah.
So there was less time to kill. Like, just, I'm going to go to the bathroom, I'm going to have some dinner, I'm going to put my bets in for the Thursday night game so I'm not talk to a girl.
Yeah, right.
Like, why do I even need anybody?
Well, they had to kill an hour and a half.
Go
That's
somewhere
a lot
else.
of Barkley. It's a lot of Kenny.
Yeah, sign off. Play some Charmed reruns in between on TNT.
Now, if you told me Nelly was singing Dave Matthews' catalog, then all right, I'll take it.
Now Pete suddenly that's piqued his interest.
Yeah, there we go.
Let's go around the room quickly. EJ and I were just talking about this. I feel old because Nelly and TLC were kind of mailing it in last night. The song that was #1 the year you were born. Quick googly googs.
Okay.
I know mine.
So, I did mine just now. So we're talking about April 20th, the week of April 20th, my birthday, April 21st, 1991. You're in Love, Wilson Phillips.
Oh, Wilson Phillips.
No idea what any of those words mean together. Don't know that song. Don't know.
Do you know Wilson Phillips, though? They came back around with a star turn in Bridesmaids.
No. I didn't watch Bridesmaids.
You didn't see Bridesmaids?
No. This is a running thing. There are a lot of movies that I have not seen that aren't that. If they're not hood classics or comic book movies or sports movies,
haven't seen them.
High chance I didn't see them.
Honestly, I'd put Bridesmaids on the list. It was legitimately, it crushed at the box office. It was a massive hit. It's super funny.
It's still funny.
It holds up. It's on TV all the time. the week I was born, it was the Eurythmics. Sweet Dreams Are Made of These.
Okay.
What about anyone else want to go here?
So I go ahead if you got yours.
No, you go, Bogusch.
Well, I only did for the year of 1980, and that was a song that just disappeared because I was switching it to the week of.
Fantastic radio.
Yeah,
Pete?
no, I messed myself up. Go, Pete.
It was January '85. Like a Virgin, Madonna.
Oh, that's a good one.
All right.
Still holds up.
So Call Me by Blondie was the number one song of 1980. But this says Crazy Little Thing Called Love by Queen was number one on my birthday, the week of my birthday.
These are all hits, guys.
Yeah.
We really nailed this. Also, like a Virgin, also 30% of young people who use sports betting websites, according to one economist.
Oh, I know Madonna.
Okay,
give me a break. Yes, I know Madonna. Wait, so I'm curious though. What is your what year? What week were you born? Or
February 25th, 1980.
So February 25th. So if you're talking about that specific time, the day you were born, the number one song was "Crazy Little Thing Called Love," Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just said that.
Yeah. Oh, I think you said. Oh, I was thinking about Madonna. I'm sorry.
For a second, I thought you were going to say something else.
Me
I'm like,
too.
man,
I was like,
EJ really
He threw
stumped
me
you.
off when you asked me about Madonna.
Okay, Shohei Ohtani. Well, listen, Bogusch, you're the update man. You've got some details for us.
Yes, the day after the Yankees traded for Juan Soto, we are now on Shohei Ohtani watch. MLB Network's John Morosi tweeting last hour, a decision is imminent, maybe as soon as today. Dodgers, Angels, Cubs, Blue Jays, and Pirates have been connected. Not the Pirates.
Wait a minute. You're messing with it.
After typing out the tweet, Morosi did go on TV, expanded on the tweet, and he said since they're no longer secret meeting Monday at their spring training complex, momentum has built in the Blue Jays' favor.
What?
Yes, that's what he would say. Momentum building with the Blue Jays over the last couple of days.
Wait, are we on in Toronto? We might be. Are we?
We're almost certainly, yeah, definitely.
Okay, I think we are. I'm curious, like, what kind of ripple effect would that have if Ohtani, the biggest free agent maybe we've ever had, or at least in my lifetime in baseball, just pick the Toronto Blue Jays?
Sign me up.
Does baseball want that? Do they not want it? I mean, Toronto's a thriving baseball market.
Yeah, and if there's thoughts of putting a team back in Montreal, making baseball that much more popular in Canada, I think baseball will be very happy with an Eastern time zone team. I think they might like him being spread out, not on the Yankees or the Red Sox.
Yeah, but still in the AL East, so still playing the Red Sox and playing the Yankees all the time.
I don't think they'd object to this.
Wow.
And I love the team. They
It's a
got
fun
some
team.
young. They got some young studs.
Right.
They just need that piece to get them over the hump. I think I was talking to Pete behind the glass here, and I thought he made a good point. The one thing that seems like they're missing, and I don't know if Ohtani brings that, is like that dog in the clubhouse. Like, who is their clubhouse guy?
It's not Vlad Jr.?
No, I think he's. I don't want to say he's soft, but I think people think of him as more like he's the home run hitter. He's not in the greatest shape. Like,
Yeah.
And
His dad was a dog. What about
They have a lot of young guys.
What about like Manoah? Right? Is he still there?
Well, his name has been put out there trade wise.
He had a bad season.
And I don't think he likes them, and they don't like him because of the way he was treated. And who knows if he's even good anymore.
Man, but is Ohtani a dog? Like you know what I mean? In
I
the
think
sense they got that dog in him.
I think he's going to get the money, but I think he's the player that needs to be the second in terms of the voice in the locker room.
Interesting.
I like with him and Trout. Trout's the voice.
Is he? I feel like Trout's
compared to Ohtani. Ohtani's not talking, so I would think Trout would be, or somebody else would be the voice in that clubhouse. If say Ohtani went to the Dodgers,
right?
They have Betts and they have Freeman,
right?
And
lots of leaders.
Lots of leaders. If Kershaw resigns, Kershaw. It's. I think he needs to go to a place where there's some other leaders. He's not the only one.
Yeah, I mean,
do we know enough about him to even know if he's a leader?
So there's plenty of clips of him. He speaks passable English enough to communicate.
Definitely. I'm sure he probably speaks better English behind the scenes.
100%.
Too.
Definitely. He seems to have a very good sense of humor. He fits in. He does not seem to be an outsider. I don't know if he's a rah-rah kind of guy like Pete's talking about, but he's not also disconnected from the group.
Right. Is George Springer's got to be a bit of a dog,
that
right?
was the only guy I could think of on that team. I said maybe he's that guy. But, I mean, when you watch the Blue Jays play, it just feels like that's the thing they're missing. I mean, they've had these flameouts in the postseason. They're a team that has all this talent, but for whatever reason can't get over the hump. Look, adding a unicorn like OHTANI certainly helps, but I still wonder if they also need a grinder and someone who kind of teaches young guys kind of what it takes to get to that World Series caliber level.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I like the way that Bogusch plays the game, you know?
Same. Yep.
855-212-4CBS. More headlines.
Yes, we need more Tyrese Halliburton this morning, a player EJ's Knicks wish they had, just like they wish they had the Pacers' upside. Halliburton,
give me a break.
Halliburton with 27 points and 15 assists to lead those Pacers past the Bucks, 128-119 into the NBA Cup title game tomorrow night in Vegas. I'll remind you that the Bucks were in this game because they beat the Knicks, and then the Pacers beat the Bucks. So the Pacers are better than the Knicks by more than one math process there. After one of his dagger shots last night, Halliburton checked his imaginary watch a la Dame time with Damian Lillard on the floor. But Halliburton says the gesture is just about his team.
It's our time. It's our time as a group, and we're playing the right way. And like I said, we're shocking the world right now. We're going to continue to do that. And as long as we play the right way, we know we're going to be in every basketball game.
And now Lillard's response.
You know, when you dish it out, you got to be willing to take it. And for as many times as I've done it to people, you know, I can't be upset when somebody else does it. You know what I mean? I think that's also a sign of respect and acknowledgement for, you know, knowing my history and knowing what I do.
So
again, no, we can't have grudges anymore.
But wait.
Is there more?
So there's more, I think. You tell me what you hear in part B.
Okay.
I didn't mind it. Was what it was. I've also known that, you know, when you having your moment, it's important to be careful and to be humble when you having your moments, because you just never know how the tables turn and when they're going to turn.
Like, that's half a warning, right?
All right. That's a little bit of a, okay. Like,
we'll see you in April.
We'll get you the next time.
Right.
I get it. But again, bring back grudges in sports. I know it's not healthy for life, but it can be healthy for this part of sports, right?
Yes.
You have all offseason to make up. This is the same thing with Dre Greenlaw and Big Dom. Now with Dame Lillard, like, oh, it's a sign of respect. You got to be like, I'm going to teach this guy to never do that again. How dare he?
It's against my core being saying anything good about a Pacer, but what I will say about Halliburton is I feel like of all the most low-hanging fruit on how to taunt against somebody is to take their own celebration.
Right.
I will say, I think this may be the best celebration to steal from another athlete, because it means you hit a game-winning shot or a back-breaking shot. Like, if someone does the gritty against, you know, Justin Jefferson, it's like, well, how many people do the gritty? Like, to steal the Dame time and hitting a clutch three and looking at the crowd and getting it's our time, like, that's pretty cold, I got to admit.
Well, I think the low-hanging fruit is when guys dunk on somebody and they do the too small.
Oh, I love that.
I know, but it's like everyone in the NBA is 6'8". It's just not true, is my problem.
I just wish that Lillard would have came onto our team, the anti-IST team, and went, this doesn't matter. He can have this one.
No, the NBA will find him.
we'll get it when it really, you know, Dame time's in April and May when it actually matters.
I think there's something going on behind the scenes where if you say anything negative about the in-season tournament publicly as a player, you are not going to make the All-Star team or something like that. Durant got kind of close, sort of called it out, but then kind of saved it and was like, no, it is, you know, it did feel like a playoff atmosphere. I think they've threatened people behind the scenes. If you punk our tournament, it's going to come back on you.
There's also a report I just saw before coming back into the room that the Lakers deliberated on hanging a banner if they win this and have decided not to. I don't understand why they even thought about doing this. Unless that's like like, let's put it out there.
More marketing.
We're never going to do it. But let's say we might have done it. Then you can write the report that we decided not to do it. They're the Lakers.
Again, I think the NBA gets involved here. And it helps. Listen, the players, what do they want, right? They want more money. It helps everybody if you can, you know, they're about to do this big new TV deal for the NBA. You want to make the product. It's like you're about to sell your house. You want to make it look as good as
Yeah.
possible to get the highest bidder. I could see the NBA telling the Lakers, hang that banner.
When apparently LeBron thinks this would be cool because Jordan never did it, I really think that Jordan wouldn't be in this if it existed in the
disagree.
90s.
We talked about this.
No
I think
way.
Jordan would be super competitive about this. He's competitive about anything. He wanted to
But-
kick people's butt in quarters.
But
let
he
alone
would
this.
have he wanted to win everything he played in, yes. But there is zero chance that Michael Jordan would ever present an NBA Cup title in defense of Michael Jordan's resume. He would never go, I won 6 titles and this and that, and I won the first NBA Cup title. That would never come out. He would not be proud of it. He would not celebrate it. He'd want to win because he always wanted to win, but he wouldn't be like, hey, look what I just got, guys.
This is also somebody who had to produce their own 10-part documentary to make sure that we didn't forget that he is a great basketball player. He's not above anything.
But it wouldn't be part 11 on his NBA Cup resume.
No, because it'd be about some other random
Right.
player we never heard of who played for the Wizards who he, embarrassed.
Right. You know, when they lost the 98 NBA Cup, and I didn't forget that, whatever the line, like that wouldn't have existed.
It probably would have been, they
And
would have
I
added a
remember.
whole other 10 episodes about that.
No.
I have a theory also on LeBron is that they talked a lot about the Jordan thing. I think there's another thing at play about why he's so into this. Think about where this is being played. It's being played in Las Vegas. And you watched that game last night, and he's chatting it up with the Las Vegas Aces. He's chatting up with the coaches and players from that team.
Yep.
He's chatting up with the fans there. LeBron wants stake in that Las Vegas franchise that's coming to the NBA. And I think for him, he's looking at this as a soft launch for LeBron Las Vegas.
Yeah,
I think that
totally
is
agree.
a big deal with why he's been so into this.
I agree. And also, he's already part of the ownership group for the Red Sox, right?
Yes.
And Liverpool and everything. So he's already in with an ownership. Like, you don't have to connect too many dots here to get him to Vegas.
Well, maybe he and the Lakers can handle Halliburton and the Pacers. The NBA Cup final is tomorrow night with the Lakers smoking the Pels last night, 133-89. A little tighter in Pittsburgh. The Patriots get a 21-18 win over the Steelers. That snaps their 5-game skid. It was 21-3, so they have to hang on to get just their 3rd win of the season. So now they're 2 games behind the Panthers/Bears for that number 1 pick.
Andrew Bogusch, thank you so much. Coming up, we've got college football news for you. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie Gray. Andrew Perloff is at jury duty right now. So Andrew Bogusch is here. Man, Perloff's going to get a case, isn't he? We're not going to see this guy for months. This would be his luck. He's going to get on like a very complicated financial crimes case or something. It's going to take forever.
Well, I think
we're going to have to hear about it forever.
You know, he's had a lot of good fortune in his life being in movies and whatnot.
Yeah.
It would definitely track for him to be on a case that matters. He could get notoriety off of that as well.
Yes, you're right. He always backs into stuff.
Yeah.
That, you're so right about that. Also, I guarantee, because I've been out in the world with Perloff now for almost a decade, somebody there will be like McLovin.
100%.
Definitely. It always happens. He gets recognized more than Paul Rudd.
Does he get recognized enough that he actually might be excused because of that?
I don't think so, because once famously the owner of the Giants, John Mara, had to serve on a jury during the NFL lockout. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And Perloff is, gets recognized a lot, and he's very gracious whenever it happens, but he's not the level of John Mara.
I told the story to you guys that I was at my barber, and I told him how I'm on this show now. He's, oh, put it on. And he puts on the show, and he's watching you guys, and he's like, that guy on the right looks familiar. I was like, well, yeah, he's done SI stuff. He's been on Dan Patrick. He's like, no. Is he an actor? And I'm like, well, yes, he was in Hustle. He's like, yeah, that's where I saw him. That's why I know who he was. And I was like, so you know him as an actor?
It's amazing. Let's get to our shot of the day.
He shoots!
And the shot of the day is brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos is brought to you by those who drink it. My Friday night will also be brought to you by Casamigos, along with my Saturday.
My tomorrow will be for sure.
A little bit of Sunday.
2 hours from now.
Yes. My brunch will be brought to you by Casamigos. Today's shot of the day, a little snapshot of the show, was, we got some new data, and it shows that young men, allegedly, have replaced sex in their life with sports gambling, at least according to one economist. And this all made sense to Perloff.
This does explain one thing, though.
Okay.
In high school, I had a bookie, made a lot of sports bets. So
that's why you weren't getting any action?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Yes, she directly, the male virginity issue. That's why I was like, yeah, she might be onto something because
That's a
I
little
remember I was
revisionist
betting,
history here.
I was betting Duquesne St. Joe's and not getting any action. If mobile betting was around, I'd be a monk.
That's a great first date, the OTB.
Maxine Dupree's dancing around you in her singlet. And you're
I'm like, no.
leave me alone. I got the second
I
half
got the under on the Browns game. Not tonight, honey.
So crazy. This is out there now. This is out there. This was the facts where 63% of young people young men, not in a relationship and don't want to be. Don't even want to date casually. 30% of young men haven't had sex in a year and don't think that's wrong. Nothing wrong with it because they're putting other things in their life, and one of the theories was sports betting is one of them.
That was an interesting word choice. I wasn't sure we were going to go there. Putting other things in. Like, easy, Maggie. Where's that button, Pete?
Yeah, Pete, get ready.
I'm talking about a lot of technicalities here, guys.
This show's brought to you by Casamigos, apparently. Maggie's potty mouth.
Yeah, wow. I mean, this is just facts. This is CNBC. Said this, not me.
And like during the day too, not like some bizarro overnight or a weekend show. It was like Squawk Box. It was like prime.
Their number one show.
Definitely a light day on the markets.
It's like we can't have anything, no interest rates. We got nothing to talk about except this.
She's just been there for like 4 weeks waiting for a spot and somebody canceled.
Well, isn't there another jobs report coming out or something?
Put
Please,
the sex and
God.
gambling lady on.
No,
Where's that ball guy with the goatee? Can he do?
because there's someone who needs to roll up their sleeves somewhere and scream at me. There did make a point that the sports betting right now is not legal in Texas and California, and once that happens, no one's ever getting laid again.
Yep, Armageddon. Sorry, ladies.
It's over. Thank you, DJ Stewart. Thank you to Pete Pilati. Thank you to Andrew Bogusch and doing some extra work. Thank you so much to Andrew Kaplan, of course, to the Weedos, the coffee drinkers, Ty Dunn, Sarah Tiano, you guys. How lucky are we get to do this every day? Have a great weekend.
You're in a 5-minute break.